Okay, so welcome, Sally and Yad, to the afternoon session. I've got an evening one today as well, actually. So this one will be a bit shorter. So Yad, you were just sharing some stuff. If you want to say any of that again, and then I was going to make a comment. So
Oh, I'm not sure which bit you want to share again. The ego being in having a field day, really. Again,
resistance, yeah.
yeah. Just the feedback loop I'm stuck in. That was the thing that I came with today. Is that a feeling that um every day is kind of like I'm repeating the same patterns, so then I have to make an effort to get out of that pattern. And then by the evening, I've got out of it anyway, or throughout the day I might have done, but then I jump back into it. So this like it feels like a hamster wheel that I'm constantly on, a feedback loop that I'm seeing evidence of what I don't want instead of evidence of what I do want.
Yeah. This is why the ego is so sticky, because it's a projection perception mechanism. So there's a feedback mechanism built into it. So I've decided on a false idea. I now go to great lengths to put myself in a body, into a world that doesn't really exist, which is the projection of the mind. I'm not unconscious of that. I forget I've done that. So now I seem to be getting feedback that supports the belief that projected out and created all of this, you see. So now my perception reinforces the belief that created the projection. So projection, perception, projection, perception. See how it goes?
Yeah.
Feedback loop. And we've forgotten that we do this. We do it so well, so automatically, that we're not conscious that we are projecting, perceiving. We're in a feedback loop. So spiritual practice about creating some awareness, some gap between projection and perception. You go, projection seems to happen automatically, right? Someone's in your life, someone triggers you, that's not something that you have direct conscious control of. But you do have control of your perception. So that's the aspect of the feedback loop that you've got 100% control of. Okay. So I can actually look at this. I can create some space around it. I don't have to react straight away. There's a pause, a gap between stimulus and response. Now, in that gap, I can bring in another interpretation, which is the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the situation, because I've created the space to do that. And the ego just wants you to go, no, you don't have time for that. Just react, based on the default thought system. So there's no gap between stimulus and response, and you just keep playing the program. Projection leads to default perception. Now that perception reinforces the belief that created the projection. And so the feedback mechanism just keeps running. And most people have been doing this their whole lives without knowing they're doing it. And then you go, well, now I want to break out of it, and you want to change it. And the ego's like, nah, I've been doing this for so long, been on the hamster wheel for so long, I'm so good at this that there's huge resistance doing that. But it starts with just creating the space between stimulus and response. So the projection happens, you get the feedback from the environment going, oh, no, this is the thought that'll get triggered is your default thought. Ego speaks first and it speaks loudest, says Yeshua. So that's the first one that's going to come in. But then in that secondary moment, okay, so you're like, okay, so no, this is telling me a false thought, and you feel the emotional contraction. You're aware of that. Then this is where the Holy Spirit can come in if you allow it. So no, says the voice. No, this isn't correct. Can you know this is true? Do you absolutely know this is true? Use Byron Katie's work. It's quite useful. There's two questions. Do you know it's true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? No, not really. This is just my perception. You ask those two questions, you see, it creates a pattern interrupt. It interrupts the ego's pattern, creates some space. And then in that openness, you go, okay, let me apply the lesson to it, for instance, or let me do an EAM clearing on it. Whatever the process is, but the awareness, the space is critical. To just go, no, stop here. and be aware of that thought and that feeling. Because if you can't do that, then how are you going to let it go? Without awareness, you can't make the choice to let it go, can you?
Okay.
It just happens by default. So the first part of this art of letting go is cultivate your awareness, more awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Be very vigilant of your thoughts and emotions, moment by moment by moment. And if something comes in that's out of accord with pure formless awareness, with perfect love, it's like, oh, okay, got you, noticed. So you got to actually be very sensitive. You say, oh, you're so sensitive. And that's like a weakness. No, in Course in
I've got
Miracles,
that superpower. Yeah, it's fine.
yeah, sensitivity to it, because it's vigilance. It's like, oh, okay, I got it straight away, like no delay. The quicker you can get it. So ego comes in, you have the thought, the feeling, and in that moment you grab it and you go, got it. I see you. Now I'm hyper vigilant, and now I can apply a technique. I can do use the lesson that's why it's given them, so you can use it if you're tempted. You could do an EAM clearing if it's something a bit more severe. You could spend a longer time meditating on it. You could do the 10-step letting go process. You could do the instrument for peace worksheet. You could join a live call if one's there's interventions you can then do to help you to let it go. But the awareness is critical, because without awareness, you just play the program. You're just a puppet of the program, and you're the victim, and the ego wants to keep you there. It's got great resistance to that awareness, hasn't it? So no, you just, I don't want to do this, I'm lazy. It'll tell you all kinds of stuff. I'm tired, I don't have time for this today. So just play the program. Okay, so you have time to be a victim, but you don't have time to be consciously aware and make choices about what you want to perceive and believe. I mean, it's a lie. It's a setup. Of course you do. Because the cost of unawareness, the cost of lack of awareness is severe. It's high.
Oh.
You have awareness, the cost is your peace of mind, your health and well-being in long term, really any quality of life whatsoever. That's the cost. So you've got to go, no, I'm not willing to pay that price. That's just not something I'm going to entertain, because I do want to be happy. I do want to be at peace. And in this world, that the price of that is vigilance. You must have vigilance, and you must be aware of your thoughts and emotions. Otherwise, forget happiness and peace. It's not going to happen sustainably. You might have little moments. Oh, I feel like nice now, but the ego will give you that. It'll give you the little crumbs to suck you into the system. Oh yes. Oh, that was nice. You want more of that, and then you're in some kind of addictive pattern. It's like, okay, well, we just got you on that. So now you can think you want more of whatever that thing was, that experience, that person, that substance, to give you the temporary high, which you then go, oh, I crave that, so I need to repeat it. Then, okay, well, just another feedback loop. Like, I'll just get you in that feedback loop. So of course it's going to be difficult. I mean, this is the most difficult thing you're ever going to do. But it's the last thing you'll ever have to do.
It better be.
Yeah.
Come back and do
No.
Like a threat.
Did you read yesterday's text? I need do nothing. Read it if you haven't read it.
No, I haven't read it. I don't. And what you say resonates so much. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at the big picture, and I'm doing big pattern interrupts. But actually it's the moment by moment stuff that I'm not seeing, which is probably why my eyesight's deteriorated as well. It's because I'm not focusing on the moment by moment. And I did last night when I said I got that 10 minutes of respite. I did in that moment. I did focus on, what am I seeing? What am I feeling? Yeah. Is this true? And I was like, no, it's not true. And then I felt elated.
Yeah.
And then got sucked back in. So thank you. So I've just got to be, because I felt like I was aware, but I wasn't aware of the minute by minute. I'm aware of the day by day instead of the minute by minute. And I think that's really where I've been going wrong.
Yeah, moment by moment. In the moment, what's happening right now? Like, not past future. There's no past future. I'm totally present. What's going on? So you got to get very good at checking in. And the reason why Yeshua recommends you do the breath breaks, or the hourly, he doesn't call them breath breaks, I call them breath breaks, the hourly practice periods, Just saying, just every hour, check in, be aware. Every hour, check in. Use the idea to go in and say, okay, so what's going on here? No, because we're not used to doing that. So he's saying, well, cultivate awareness hourly, even if it's for a few moments. Okay, check in. What's going on there? Okay, all right. Apply the lesson. That can take a few seconds if you don't have time. But it's just the awareness. You see, just the fact that you stopped, you're aware, you checked in, and maybe you had some time to think about the lesson. That's cultivating that awareness, even if it's for 10 seconds. If you can do a bit longer, do a minute, great. A minute of awareness every hour. And he's saying this is the way you're going to do it. Like, yeah, the longer sessions are great. That establishes a deeper connection. And then in the day, you're going to top yourself up and train your mind to be aware, moment by moment by moment. So that you're very good at just watching that ego. And if it comes in, you're like, I got you, caught you soon, and I know exactly what to do. I'm so in the habit of doing these practice periods that I just do one and I clear it, and then the pattern doesn't have a chance to develop. And so you just stop it as it arises, and then it's got no real power. And of course, to get to that level of skill, because it's a skill, it's going to require practice, like any skills. Yeah, okay, I've got to practice this. So notice, I guess, your barometer for your spiritual advancements. One key one is how quickly do I become aware of an ego pattern? How quickly? Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Is it hours? Is it a day, a week? If it's days, weeks, there's a long way to go. If you can cut it down to an hour, you're getting somewhere. If it's a few minutes, even better. If you get it in the moment, seconds. Got it. See, okay, all right. Do the clearing. Done. A few seconds, minute over. That's advanced. You've advanced in your spiritual practice. And the benefit of it's not, I'm so advanced. Your benefit is that then you can experience happiness and peace and flow yourself in the moment, and you're not sabotaging your experience and creating unhappiness and suffering for yourself unnecessarily. You're not suffering any longer than you need to. You give the ego a few seconds, like, okay, I got you, stop, enough, don't go there, don't let the pattern develop. Don't because once you go down the rabbit hole, as you know, it's like you start with one thought, one little thought, amazing what it can do, one little thought. And then that leads to another thought, and then you get an emotion. Now your biochemistry is firing off, and you've got some stress and cortisol just from a thought. Wow, okay, now the ego's, we're getting going here. That's nice, we juice it. And so it starts revving it up. Another thought, another emotion. And now you're down, like, give it a few minutes of that, you're way down the rabbit hole into a dark pit of whatever the emotion is, anger, fear, anxiety, despair. And that's all it takes. We're so wired in, we're so jacked in to the ego, and then the feedback mechanism is so pronounced. We've done it so many times. If that's your pattern, they'll be like, okay, the default pattern is already there. So all it's got to do is trigger it, is start the ball rolling with the thoughts and emotions. Like, okay, well, just, it's like a well-worn pathway, and you're just going to go and slide on down there because you've done this so many times. So thought, then that leads to emotion, and this is all wired into your biochemistry. So you have neural pathways with that support those thoughts, and you have biochemical pathways that support those thoughts and those emotions and those behaviors. And so you just kind of fall into it, like it's just a well-worn reel, a well-worn rut. You've been doing it over and over again, you just slip into that. So it takes a lot of effort initially to, like, okay, I've got to get out the rut. No, I'm not just going to fall into the pattern before I go down there at the start. No, take another path. Take the road less traveled, because it really is the road less traveled. You don't know that road. It's unknown territory in your brain and your biochemistry. That's not a pattern you're used to. So now you've got to kind of blaze a new path. Just a choice, just a thought, now will start to rewire neural pathways, and you actually can feel like your head's hurting.
Ooh.
Why? Because you're actually rewiring neural pathways. That's why the hardware is changing because you upgraded your software. Software is the mind, thought. So you're not limited. Scientific materials will say, well, your brain is what's thinking. No, your brain's not what's thinking. Mind is what's thinking. But because we jacked into the physical organism or the body, these brain pathways seem to direct thought. That okay, you've got neural pathways that seem to direct the way you're going to think. That's not ultimately true, but it seems to be the case. And so to break out of that, you've got to have a lot of awareness and a lot of mind training, a lot of practice. So you can do it with your mind. And then if you just consistently do it every day, you just create new neural pathways, and then new biochemistry fires off. And now you create a good pattern, like a positive feedback loop. Say, oh, I let go and I experience love and I experience peace. And the more I do that, the more I experience that peace. And now I'm creating that positive feedback mechanism. So now you associate, when I let go and I forgive or I meditate, then I get a nice feeling, and I get a nice rush of good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin. These are happy, feel-good chemicals. Now you create those pathways, and you can go more and more into peace and into joy and into bliss. But initially, it takes a lot of effort because you're used to going the other way, and it's all hardwired into your system. And so now you've got to rewire it. Fortunately, we are not products of our brain or our biochemistry. Otherwise, there'd be no hope. This is what modern medicine tells you. Well, you're basically just a product of your body. That's not true, because the mind has created the body. Right? So if the mind has projected the body, which it has, and the mind then continues to project all the time onto it, project its thoughts and emotions onto it, it's the mind that's in charge. So you can change your mind. No matter how deeply that pattern is there, you can make a conscious choice to say, no, enough of that. I'm going to make another choice. This is transformation. It's the hardest thing you're ever going to do, but you can do it with the help of a good practice, a good path like Course in Miracles, and then you have a teacher or facilitator like me to help you, and you have techniques, and it's all there to help you to do this seemingly impossible thing. Ego's going to tell you, it's impossible, but it's not. It's not. It's just persevere. Yeah, it's it's the ultimate accomplishment. So a lot of mind training, a lot of practice, diligence is going to be required. It's the hardest thing you're ever going to do is to become enlightened. So it's going to require the most effort. Forget like learning whatever. We went to school, we learned stuff, we learned maybe some skill, we went to university, did a degree. That's kid stuff compared with this. This is like, okay, so now I'm actually learning to be aware, to consciously choose my thoughts, and to unplug myself from this default thought system called the ego that is really insane and seems to grip everyone, that the world is like, most people are in this. This is taking learning to another level entirely. Not easy.
We've lost your picture.
Right. Not quite sure what happened there. I think I just disturbed the camera. That's probably what happened. Let's just try again.
Okay. Well, I feel. Thank you so much for that. I do feel a lot better. I feel excited, and I feel like a superhuman. Like I feel like I can do this now. I feel like I'm, So just keep that moment by moment, as you say, and.
Yeah. Just keep doing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can't see you.
Can't see you.
Yeah. I think I must have touched my microphone. Let's see if we can get it back into some kind of.
Yeah, and I found that very helpful because I realised I was choosing peace, but I was also resisting choosing it. So it was becoming a bit of a battle. So when you were talking about being moment by moment, I sat with it there for a minute and went, it's just resistance to choosing peace. So it's as basic as that, isn't it? So I released the resistance and now I've come into more peace now. But it's funny, isn't it? Because I've always known that I was peace, and I always have said I am peace, but I've not ever said I choose peace. And it made such a big difference. It really triggered my ego. Well, it triggered something anyway.
Yeah.
My keyword's freedom. And so doing this moment by moment is what is going to bring me freedom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I
Whatever.
feel really buzzed now, really excited.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
You have the key. It just I think you've got to just go, okay, this is what the rest of my life is like going to be.
Yeah.
I need to be continuously aware.
But it doesn't have to be as
I
hard
can't.
as it is now. It'll get
No, it'll
easier.
I mean, if you keep doing it, it
Yeah.
becomes default pattern. That's what you do. You consciously aware all the time. But it's going to take some mind training to get you there. Because if you're used to being unaware, then it's going to take practice and work. But it's well worth it, because your reward is freedom, happiness, peace, joy. A happy dream. You can have the best possibility here. This isn't never going to be real, but the best possibility is you can have quite a happy dream while you learn your lessons, and eventually just lay your body aside, and then that's done. The dream is over. You've collapsed it, and you don't need to come back. That's the I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of an anticlimax in some ways. People are like, "Oh, spiritual enlightenment." No, you're actually quite happy and peaceful while you're here, and in your mind, you've made a choice. You keep making a choice daily. No, I don't really want to be here. This is not something I want to continue with. So I'm learning my lessons, and I'm actually escaping from this prison. I see it correctly. I'm not trying to stay here and justify this world. But while I'm here, okay, I don't have to force matters and kill myself because I want to get out of here. I can just no, we have these thoughts, don't we? I mean, we'll do. Let's be honest. It's like, just can I just end it? I mean, that would just be the quick way. Just like do whatever, take poison, blow my brains out, jump off a bridge, game over. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Freedom. Would it?
It's not freedom, is it? I know.
Well, if you haven't done your work, hang
Yeah.
on, you still have the beliefs that are the problem. So you haven't actually used your life for what it's for, which is to unwind all of these egoic beliefs and free yourself completely. Guess what? You come back, another life, come back into a body where you have no idea who you are again. You've forgotten everything. The slate swipe queen. You go, where am I? I don't know where I am, crying. And the whole human life thing has to happen again, and then you have to kind of work it out again, figure it out in another life. Now here, you've come to, latter part of your life. You understand a lot more. You have this amazingly profound teaching called A Course in Miracles. It was the first lifetime you've ever had access to this, because it's only, what's it, 60 years old or whatever. So just really make use of it. Wow, I'm in a really good position here, maybe the best position I've ever been in for my enlightenment. So let me not blow it. I'm not going to blow it this time. I'm actually going to get my head down. I'm going to really apply myself diligently, and I'm going to learn this. And Yeshua is saying, if you do that, then that's it. One lifetime, you can be out of here. You don't need to come back. But it's going to require a level of diligence and vigilance that you've never done that before in your entire however many incarnations you've had. You've never done it. Otherwise, you would have been free, and you wouldn't have come back. So he's asking you to do something you've never done, but he's saying you don't have to do it on your own. I'm there to help you. The Holy Spirit's there. Just give it over. Give it over to the Spirit to help you, and it can do what you think is impossible. If you're just willing, say, okay, well, show me. And that's what you're doing with the awareness. Okay, show me. Give me another way of looking at this. I'm open to it. I'm not fixated on my interpretation of it. I'm open to something else coming in. And then it'll start to happen. It is happening. And the resistance is part of it. You see that? The resistance is absolutely part of the process. It's all good, because the resistance is how the ego shows itself further, and then okay, so it's coming up some more, so I can let it go some more. It has to reveal itself in order to be let go of. If it remains suppressed in your subconscious, then how can you let it go? So you actually need it to come up. So the beauty of this process, the more you do the practice, the more the ego defends, reveals itself. And then you go, oh, great, more fodder for the Holy Spirit to let it go. So it's like, okay, well, come on then, bring it on. It's that great scene in The Matrix where Neo's being absolutely beaten up by Smith, and he gets kicked to the end of the platform, and he spits the blood out, and he gets up and he goes, does his little kung fu move, and then he goes, come. Because he's saying, okay, I'm not scared anymore. I will face my ego. So it's giving me a right old kicking, and yet, come, bring it on. Come, we're going to do this. We're going to get this over with. I'm not going to run anymore. And so that's the spiritual warrior in you. So, okay, come, ego, come, bring it on, whatever. Give me your best shot, because I know that I now have the way of dealing with whatever you throw at me, which is letting go or forgiveness. I know I have the way, and it might be difficult because it's giving you your best shot and it's really pushing your buttons, and you're feeling like emotionally wounded and vulnerable and attacked. But the part of you, the spiritual warrior, says, no, bring it on. You can let this go. You can just let it slide on by. So the Aikido, the martial art, is all about non-resistance. You don't actually fight the opponent. You never kick or punch. You just use the attack, and you redirect it. So that's kind of what we're doing spiritually. So okay, so it comes in, just reinterpret, get out the way, and let it go. And so whatever the ego is doing, it's just like, oh, well, you're just letting it go, and it slides off there, and it can't get you. And so then you learn through this process that you're actually invulnerable. It doesn't matter what the ego throws at you. You're invulnerable, and that awareness, your true self, is true no matter what it does, always. In the most extreme temptation, you can still do this. Yeshua demonstrated that in his crucifixion. It's like, okay, well, even when they do this to you, the kind of the worst thing that can possibly happen in this world, pretty much, you're beaten, betrayed, you're strung up on a cross, you die this seemingly horrible death. Even then, so what? Just more illusion. It cannot really affect your true invulnerable self.
Those sort of big dramas seem to be easy to deal with because it's obvious then it's ego. It's the little things that I keep getting stuck on. It's just the small things. And that's, I suppose, because I always look at the big picture rather than the detail, then that's where I'm tripping up.
Yeah. Well, it's the specifics. The as you say, the ego works in specifics. So the Holy Spirit has to work there too. It works with specifics to generalize and say, look, there's actually really only one approach to all of it, and that's letting go. So in that specific instance that you think is an exception, no, there's no exception. It's the same. This is what the Holy Spirit's trying to teach you. So you do specific awareness and letting go until you learn, look, this is a generalizable lesson. Actually, the truth is true always. Letting go always applies, and you apply it without exception to every situation. Now that's a advanced spiritual practice, and if you do that consistently, then you will be in a high state of mind all the time. You will have that peace. So that's the genius of this thought system. Say, okay, look, the specifics aren't true, but the Holy Spirit can work with all of it. It can look at the specifics and help you to collapse them, to teach you the general lesson that you are still one. Nothing's really changed, and that there are no exceptions. It's always the same. Whatever you're receiving on this level of form is illusion. So there's no hierarchy of illusions, which is why there's no order of difficulty in miracles. See the connection between those. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion. It's the same. It's in the same domain of being false. So something's not more false or less false. It's all false. This is what he's trying to teach us. It's all false, no matter what you projecting, perceiving here. It's all ultimately false. Okay, so that's pretty useful to know that one absolute rule, and then just apply that to collapse any negativity. It's like anything that's not happy, loving, peaceful, that's not coming from pure formless awareness. Go, well, it's false, so I don't have to believe it. So simple. I mean, it does say this course is incredibly simple, but it's just you have to do it without exception. And you jacked into the matrix where you think all of this is real. So, it's this total inversion of what you're used to. the way you're used to thinking and perceiving. But it's very simple what he's asking us to do. Just don't believe any of it.
Yeah.
And stay rooted in this pure formless awareness. No matter what your senses are telling you, stay rooted in that underlying awareness, that you don't move out of that center. I'd recommend read I Need Do Nothing. I'll actually post it to the group because we did it yesterday. I didn't post it because it was late. So I'll post it on the group with the translated. And that's really, really profound. He's talking about the state of beingness, where you really just drop into a state of I need to do nothing and I'm okay as I am. I can get off that treadmill of having to do stuff. And then he says, but actually, if you can stay there, this can help you to do the things in your life without the necessity of doing it, without the craving and the stressing and the straining and the striving that go with the ego. So it's actually an entry point into the flow state or miracle mindedness. It's like, yes, I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. So I'm rooted in my beingness, and my beingness is directing my doing, and I'm not getting lost in the doing. I'm continuously in connection with this deeper presence that's now guiding everything. But it starts with I need do nothing. If you can have a moment where you can drop into that, maybe in our meditation I'll include that. I need do nothing. Just get that. Because that's then the true being state. There's nothing you need to do. You're complete and you're whole and you're perfect in that moment. I need do nothing. And if I just accept that, then you have the quiet center, which now can guide all of your actions. And so now you flow from that point outwards, but you're still resting in the peace of I need do nothing, even while you're doing something. So it seems to be a paradox, but that's the flow state. Flow state is I don't need to do anything. I don't desire. I'm not craving. There's none of those egoic emotions motivating me. I'm just doing it because it feels good to do. It feels right to do. I'm just allowing it to. There's no, the essence of flow is effortless action. There's no striving. There's no trying. It just flows. But that comes from your beingness. Comes from being really rooted in beingness. So you can't have that kind of flow state in action if you're not rooted in beingness. Which is why the spiritual practice of getting quiet, going deep into meditation, doing the top-up breath breaks is so important, because it keeps you in the flow, moment by moment. And related to that flow is the awareness. Okay, so something coming in to take me out of flow, because that's what the ego is trying to do. No, I'm not going to allow it. I'm rooted in my beingness. I reference it to beingness. No, this isn't true. This isn't what I want. It's run contradictory to my true nature. So I'm going to let it go and stay rooted in beingness. Very simple. What he's asking us to do isn't rocket science. Very, very simple practice.
Just not easy.
But no, not easy.
Just simple.
Just be aware all the time.
Yeah, I can see now from what you're saying, reflecting back on my life, because I when I had a really difficult time in my life for quite a few years, that's what I used to do. It's the only way that got me through it, because I had kids as well, so I had to stay centered and grounded, and I did. And then I did a degree, and then I had so much stuff going on because I was working, degree, children, everything. Then my body got used to being stressed, and I think I've not ever really acknowledged that and come out of that pattern. I'm probably looking for that now in the minute by minute. When there's a crisis or a big drama, I can manage that, and I can see it's so easy. It's like, yeah, let go of all of that. But when it's like going into the kitchen and the dishes need doing again, that's the thing that gets me out of flow.
Yeah,
it's the silly little things.
So that's what the ego is using. So you just got to go, okay, in each instance, my practice is doing the dishes. My practice is going for a walk. My practice, whatever's triggering you.
Okay, so so my other one, so it was really using real examples now. Going into the bathroom, and I used to get triggered because the bathroom, I think it's because I knit, it's always covered in fluff, so there's a lot of fluff from the wool, so all the tiles and everything, and the bath itself is always covered in fluff. It's a small space, so I thought, right, okay, every time I go in there and I see the fluff, I'll just clean it. And then I do that, and then I'd go into the bathroom, there'd be no fluff, and it was peaceful. But I forgot that I was the one who was cleaning the fluff. the fluff would start reappearing because I'd forgotten that I was doing that, because it started becoming a routine thing that I would just do it automatically. And then there was a disconnect between that. And then I'd go back in the bathrooms fluffy again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I can't seem to stay on that because once it becomes subconscious, I almost let go of it.
Well, try not cleaning the fluff and just being okay with the fluff as it is. You see, to break the pattern of the ego, because you're trying to, I do something and then I've done it and then I feel relieved and then I can have some peace. So try switching it on and saying, okay, well, just leave the fluff and see if you can be peaceful anyway. Try that. See, so
that work for me.
Why not? I mean, it's only fluff. If it's just illusory, what's the big deal about fluff?
The rest of the house is chaos. So it's like, I like to have one place I can go to where it looks clean and tidy. And that,
but that's
the bathroom you go to a lot.
To see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're going, okay, I'm setting up a condition in my mind where in order for me to have peace, I need the fluff to not be in the bathroom. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's what
and then
you're
it's
doing.
always there, and it's okay.
And then it's always there, and then it's niggling me. Then it's sabotaging my peace. So you actually need to be okay with
the fluff.
It as it is. I need do nothing. I need do nothing. Say that to yourself next time you see the fluff. I need do nothing. Okay, I'm actually completely whole, perfect, at peace now. There's no disturbance at all. And if you can do that once, you will find that the fluff issue resolves itself.
Yes.
Maybe the fluff disappears on its own accord.
Yeah.
Or you clean the fluff, but you clean the fluff without any I'm cleaning the fluff because this is going to bring me peace. I clean the fluff because, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
It's no longer an issue.
I'm just doing what I do on the level of form. That Zen saying is very profound. I just do what I need to do. But after enlightenment, the way I chop wood and carry water is different from the way I did it before. I'm still doing the same action. Yeah. But now I'm not doing because, cleaning the fluff equals peace. No, I just clean the fluff because the fluff needs to be cleaned on the level of form. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Just do it, you see.
Yeah.
The way you're doing it post enlightenment, post the shift, is going to be different from the way you were doing it before. The one leads to more craving and roots you into the world. I need a result in order to be peaceful. The ego is always telling you that. The other one's like, I'm peaceful anyway. I need do nothing. But okay, there's fluff on the floor, so I'll clean it. No big deal. Just do it. No drama, no issue with fluff at all. I just do it. I chop wood, carry water, and then I move on to the next chopping wood or carrying water activity. Just in flow. And there's none of that stressing, straining, striving. None of that stuff is there anymore. I just do what I need to do.
Yeah.
But to interrupt the pattern, you maybe need to do, okay, I just sit and meditate in the fluff.
Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to
5 minutes and I'm okay in the fluff, and I find the deep peace of I need do nothing while I'm sitting in amidst the fluff. That'll break the pattern, you see. So what you got to get good at is just switching it on the ego. Going, okay, so if it wants me to do that, just don't do it. Don't play its pattern. Do something opposite. And then it's actually quite fun. Okay, all right. So it's kind of quite playful. Let me try that then.
Yeah.
If you just keep playing the same pattern, the ego's got you. That's its pattern. So just get good at seeing it. That's the awareness. And then go, okay, well, just switch it. How could I change this? Okay, well, I don't have to clean the fluff then. If I'm used to cleaning fluff, don't clean fluff. Ego says, you slobby, how can you not clean the fluff? Blah, 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 yada, 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 etc. But actually, that's what's going to undo it. Just be okay with fluff for a day or two, and then see what happens. And the worst thing, what can go so horribly wrong? It's fluff in the bathroom. Really, no one's going to die. So you start being playful with these things and start experimenting. Okay, well that's whatever the niggles are. You go, okay, so what do I do? I'm aware of it. What's my default pattern here? Okay, so I clean fluff in this example to make myself feel better. Okay, well, don't do the default pattern. Stop it. Switch it and do something else. Just be okay with the fluff. Look at it, and with equanimity, I'll sit in and do a meditation for 5 minutes in the fluff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm looking
and
forward
then
to going to the
see what
market now and
happens. I
seeing
mean,
it. Yeah.
and then it's kind of interesting. You're like, the life's an experiment. You're experimenting with your consciousness. It's saying, okay, so what happens if I do that? And that now you just open up the range of possibilities hugely. It's not just one default response to that. You can go, oh well, I could just meditate in the fluff, or I could sing with the fluff, or I could just yeah. There's a whole heap of things that ego hasn't told you could do. So explore them, and then go, oh, okay, I've actually broken the default pattern, and I can just have a laugh about it. It's a simple thing, but you see, this is how the ego gets you with these little simple things. It's, oh well, I'll get her on fluff, and I'll get her on another. I'll get her on dishes, and I'll get her on da-da. And now you have, multiple things, little things that it's getting you on, which is all just being designed to maintain its thought system.
I hear you, and I've experienced this in the past. Like when the kids were little, the older two used to argue all the time, and I had this moment where actually I really loved hearing the arguing, because what it brought to me was the fact that I had two sons who were interacting with each other, but I had two sons. And it was just that moment of awareness, and it was just bliss. It was like, I love to hear their voices, even though before it would have been like, oh goodness, they're arguing again. But it was that. So I do the same thing with the fluff.
Yeah,
I'm there now.
You can interrupt the pattern, and you can always see it differently in any situation, and then your behavior, will follow accordingly. The Holy Spirit will say, okay, well, just meditate in the fluff, or I need to do nothing. Yeah, you need to do nothing, so don't do anything, because we're so busy doing. We're compulsive doers. Oh, problem, reaction, need to do, sort out problem, right? Women especially, you guys, it's just terrible. It's like, it's programming. And men are more like, no, I don't really need to do anything. It's okay. With those little issues, they have other triggers. I don't really, it's fine. It's just fluff on the bathroom floor. No one's going to die. It's okay.
The autistic mind, my ex, he wouldn't see anything around the house that I would see. He just wasn't there. And the same with Eric. He just doesn't see what I see. So that's quite an interesting thing. So I'm be more autistic.
His perception was different. It wasn't a problem for him, but he has other things going on.
Yeah, exactly. So
it just shows you it's all perceptual. My wife might say to me, well, how could you not see that? I don't know. I just didn't enter I'm seeing other things. I've got other things going on. So I don't pay attention in the same way as you pay attention to the minor details. And if you can start playing with that, that's where the rubber meets the road with the ego. Okay, those minor details are what's getting me. So let me work with that and change my perception. This could be kind of fun. So let's have some fun and games here. And then the ego's like, oh, okay. Oh, she's. Then they'll probably throw you some other curveball. And then you're like, okay, we'll bring it on. Like, I'm a spiritual warrior here. So whatever curveball is coming, I can deal with it. And that's kind of interesting. It's like, okay. I mean, doesn't that make life kind of, it's certainly not boring. People say, oh, this sounds so boring. Like nothing ever changes. Really? Have you been on the hero's journey then? It's certainly not boring. It's like, okay, what's coming at me now? The slings and arrows of the ego's throwing at you, and you're like, okay, like, wow, I'm like in a computer game, and I like really need to be on my game because it's getting faster and more intense. And I mean, that's certainly not boring. You need to be really on it. And you in that challenge, you can really have some fun. You can go, wow, I'm actually really be able to pretty much cope with anything the ego is throwing me now. Oh, and that process of the learning, life is kind of worthwhile because I feel like, yes, I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm upgrading myself, and I can cope with whatever the ego is throwing me at. I'm no longer a victim, and well, okay, life's all right. This is what it's about. Rather than shying away from every little challenge. Most people are so rigid in their ego. It's like, oh no, don't challenge me. Don't go out of my routine, because that causes me stress. So there's no resilience. There's no robustness. It's like, okay, one little challenge and they're freaking out. You're like, well, for me that's like nothing. That's a challenge? No. So you upgrade yourself, and I mean, don't expect everyone to go with you. People go like, oh, that's scary. Why are you doing that? And tell you all kinds of things to keep you in the matrix. If they're enslaved in that thought system, and you're freeing yourself, they will find that threatening. So of course, the the mass consciousness, which is egoic, will want to pull you down back into into the norm. Oh, no, don't do that. That's dangerous. That's crazy. What are you doing? These are the kinds of voices. But when someone's telling you that, ask yourself, well, would I want to be like this person? No, probably not, because they're pretty limited. So no. Well, why would I listen to them? Why would I listen to anything they're saying if you don't want to be like them? It's pretty obvious you wouldn't. So just discard their opinion because it's coming from the ego. You just get really good at doing that, saying, no, I don't want that. And it's all false. It's either all false or all true. So what they're saying is either all true and you should absolutely believe it, or it's all false and you should believe none of it. That's the decision criteria. So if, mostly it's false. You say, okay, none of it's true. So why am I even bothering? It's like none of it's true. It's a total fiction. This person is speaking. I love you anyway. You don't have to condemn it. You just go, I see beyond that. You are still the Christ, but the ego is in charge here. So you see that there's a level of vigilance, and you just don't buy it. Then you become field independent. Your locus of control is internal, and that's power. This is the power of decision is my own. This is today's lesson. It leads us beautifully into the power of decision is my own. In each moment, I can choose. I can make that decision. That's my power. And by claiming your power, the ego is gonna. Tell me what happens, because it's when you start to really get it. It's like, oh my God, she's got this is the power that's going to free you, the power of decision, and she's now starting to understand it and use it against me. Then it's going to throw everything at you. But great, throw it at me, and I choose again, and I choose the Holy Spirit in that instance, and then I just collapsed another ego belief, and that's how it goes. The more it throws at you, the more you can now. It reveals itself, and the more you can let it go. And so the Holy Spirit's got the ultimate answer. Just let it go. So you are invulnerable, and your enlightenment is a done deal. It's going to happen if you just follow this track. The only way the ego can defend itself is if it tries to get you off track and say, no, don't let go of it. Start attaching and using your mind in another way. But if you keep on the track of letting go, it's got no answer to it. It's just got to go.
So
okay.
This level, this is valuable. This is coming here and talking to you and being in energy, because I would have carried on with my day. So thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
No, my pleasure. Well, that's what I do. It's just an interruptive pattern.
Yeah.
But you're not going to probably easily do this on your own. You need someone else.
Yeah, definitely.
Telling you and getting you in a field and there's other people. So that's why we do the daily live sessions. So you come here, you can interrupt your pattern. If you're not having a good day, midday, okay, there we go, there's a call, and you can shift it for the rest of the day. So you don't have to go for the afternoon and the evening in the ego fug. You can actually, have a better day. So do you need to go, or can you stay a bit?
I can stay for another half an hour, and then I'm gonna have to go.
All right, so let's crack on then with some practice.
I feel really excited about you meditating with the fluff.
Yeah, well, do you know what's funny? Is I'm looking at my desk. My desk is actually covered in fluff, but that never bothers me. It's the nature of what I do. Because I knit, it's just fluff everywhere. But fluff it never bothers me on my desk. So yeah, it's just the ego getting me, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's interesting to sit there and listen to the ego thoughts while you're in there with it. That's exciting.
Yeah. So post something on the group and say, I meditated in the fluff. This is what I experienced. The interesting thing is, well, yes, just really, I'd recommend reading the text as well if you can, because in the last couple of sections, he's talked about the spiritual awakening. He's talked about the kind of what's called a mystic experience, and he said the slightest thing, anything, can take you there. Fluff in your bathroom can take you to a mystic experience. It's possible with anything. You just change your perception. And if you listen to people, people who've had these kinds of experiences, mystic experiences, have had spiritual awakening experiences, it happens in so many different ways. So many, you could be, just looking at your bath and water's flowing in a certain way, and suddenly you go, oh, wow, I'm just seeing this differently. Or you could be with another person, or the most trivial thing can take you there. So don't discount the power of fluff in your bathroom. That could be Should write a book like that. Don't discount the power of fluff in your bathroom. Ah, okay, that's a bit of a random title, but it's interesting. So there's a book for you. Don't discount the power of fluff in your bathroom. Bestseller by Yad.
Yeah, okay.
Because you never know what could take you into that enlightened state. Fluff, just changing your mind about fluff in your bathroom could take you, it's an opening into a profound mystic experience, perhaps. You keep practicing and doing this, you're opening your mind to have these kinds of experiences. You're not in control of them. They happen when they happen, but you can train your mind so that you open to them. So you increase the likelihood of them happening dramatically by doing this. Okay, so let's move into some reading of the quote. So yeah, if you want to kick it off with the quote from Tony Robbins. Actually, we don't normally have motivational speakers on this channel, but he's made an entrance. Welcome, Tony.
Okay. It is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. By Anthony Robbins. So today's inspirational quote from Tony Robbins, one of the world's best known motivational speakers, tells you of the power you have to shape your destiny in every moment. Shall I carry on?
Yeah. Every moment. You see, every moment. Your moment of decision. But that's actually every moment is a moment of decision. Because every moment you're choosing how you want to perceive whatever you're perceiving in every moment. So maybe it didn't mean the quote to this level, but this is actually what it means. Every moment is a moment of decision.
Which is what we've been talking about, isn't it?
What do I choose to see? What do I choose to perceive in this moment?
Okay, shall I carry on?
Yeah, do the next paragraph.
After all, if your decisions lead to you speaking words and taking actions that have consequences, and these consequences form the sequence of events that make up your life experience and set in motion future events that will become present experiences in time, then it must be that your decisions are the key to shaping your future life experiences, or what Tony Robbins calls destiny.
Yeah, just picked up an error there. 1B instead of 2. I'll fix that next time round. Okay, so any thoughts on that?
It brings it more into fine tuning, doesn't it? Because it's like we knew it was every moment, but you've kind of brought it into even more every moment in my mind anyway, because I'm thinking, yeah, I was making choices earlier today. I was choosing peace, but I wasn't recognizing in that pause between my nose running and choosing peace, that in that pause was resistance, and I wasn't aware of that. But in that split second, that's where the change is, isn't it?
Moment by moment. So it's hypervigilance. You're aware moment by moment of thoughts and emotions, and then go, in this moment I'm making a choice. Because if I'm aware, see why awareness is so critical. Because if I'm aware, then I can make a choice. I'm aware that I'm making a choice. If I'm not aware, then there's no choice. I'm just in the default mode of the ego. So awareness precedes the ability to choose. It's why the process of letting go is 2 steps. Awareness, and then the choice to let go. Can't choose to let go until you're aware that you have a choice. So this quote, profound, I suspect Tony Robbins probably didn't mean it moment by moment by moment, but actually in Course in Miracles, this is what you're doing. In your moments of decision, moment by moment by moment, every day of every hour, every minute, every second, you're choosing. He says that actually at some point in the course. Every moment you're choosing, because you're choosing how you want to perceive whatever you're perceiving at that moment. And that perception is a choice based on a thought system, you see. So you're making the choice. We're just not conscious we're making the choice because we have a default mode of operating that seems to be, oh, well, this is just the way it is. But it's not. It's a choice. So he's asking us to unpack it and say, well, let's look underlying all of this is the choice for separation. So if I can start to become aware that I'm making the choice for separation just by perceiving it in this way, I can now make a different choice by changing my perception. And that's how you undo the ego, moment by moment by moment. Which, as you say, is quite inspiring. So, okay, let's take it to a whole new level of awareness and letting go. And the ego cannot sustain against this kind of like detailed, disciplined mind training. It cannot sustain, which is why the course works. If you practice it, of course. What it's going to try and get you to do is not practice it, forget about it. Oh, I don't have time, whatever. That's, defense. But if you actually go, okay, I will just do what Yeshua says. I'll apply this course. It's going to work. He knows it's going to work because he's done it himself. He's the example. Who's actually, walked the path before you. And because he got out the matrix, you can get out as well. He's the teacher who's got out. He's teaching you how to get out. He knows how to do it. Well, why would you doubt that that's going to work? Only your ego could doubt it. Okay, so moment by moment by moment, in your decisions, you're shaping your destiny, which is just a word really for your purpose. Ultimately, your destiny is your purpose. Okay, so Sally, if you want to read the next couple of paragraphs on destiny.
Destiny is nothing more than the product of your decisions, which can be fundamentally changed from a fear-based foundation to a love-based one at any moment. In this world, we're called on to make decisions all the time, so you cannot avoid making decisions while you're still seemingly in a dualistic reality where there seem to be opposing thought systems of fear and love to choose between. The word decision stems from the root Latin words de and sidere. How do you say it?
Kidere. You said kidere. Yeah.
Right. That means
kidere, which means to cut away.
So you must literally cut away or let go of one of these options to choose the other.
So that's always worth remembering. Decision means cutting away. You can't decide unless you cut one option away. You're not really deciding if you want to keep both options. So you can't fudge this. This is what Yeshua is saying. You can't choose the ego and the spirit. It's one or the other here. One denies the other. So you must cut away one in order to accept the other. If you try and cut away the Holy Spirit and deny it, that seemingly is successful temporarily, but you can never do that because that awareness will always be there. You can't destroy your mind, your true awareness. So the only thing that can actually be cut away fully is the ego, because it's not true. Okay, makes sense. Any comments on that? Thoughts?
Well, something just crossed my mind was I was thinking about the awareness part. So I have this thing where the dog barks and then I have to stop the dog barking because I don't want it to upset the neighbors type reaction. So ideally, I need to be aware of that moment before the dog barks to see what I'm thinking that actually created that scenario. I was wondering, because it seems to happen randomly, is you're just going back to that moment by moment awareness, isn't it? That if it's so clear in my awareness, I'd know what that thought was that led to that situation panning out.
So play with the dog barking. Go, okay, if I can be aware moment by moment, dog barks. Okay, what was I just thinking? What was I just feeling? Oh, okay, maybe there's a connection there, and you see what reveals itself. And this is kind of interesting. I find this fascinating. It's engaging. It's interesting. It's like, okay, you're playing with awareness, aren't you? You're going like, well, what else is there to do? So it does require some effort, but what else are you going to do with your life? You're just going to keep playing the patterns, or you're going to go, okay, well, let's play with the awareness. Let's see what happens. With the the ultimate goal of love, peace, joy, happiness, and transcending the whole dream eventually. So there's an incentive to do this, but just the process itself is quite interesting. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens if I meditate in the fluff, or I'm aware of what I'm thinking just before the dog's barking. Let's see what happens. I'm curious.
I think the fluff would be easier. I'd rather the fluff option because it's static. The other one's a bit more random, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, but no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy of illusion. So an illusion is you see, this is but you see how just there you went, oh, but this would be easier. So there's a hierarchy now of an illusion. But you see how the ego gets you. So yeah, no, there's no hierarchy. Just stop it there and go, there's no hierarchy. Dog barking or fluff in the bathroom or traffic or whatever, it's all the same. It's all in the domain of illusion. So one illusion is as unreal as another illusion. And then it becomes easier to let it all go because you don't make exceptions. Go, oh well, no, that's harder. Well, who decides it's harder? You do. Because you said the dog. Well, why is the dog barking harder than fluff? And how do you know it's harder for you than it is for Yad? You don't know that.
And the fluff is random, isn't it? I don't like go to the bathroom at a set time.
Yeah, it's just that's what the ego's using to get you. So fluff, might be harder for you than Sally, Sally's dog barking. Who knows? So you can never really judge anyone else's stuff because it's just ego delusion. But remind yourself when you come up with a thought like that, okay, but there's no hierarchy here. So an illusion is an illusion. It's all the same. Because then there's one answer to it, you see. Then you stop making exceptions. You go, oh, well, the dog barking is harder than the fluff, is harder than this. Now you've got all these hierarchies and levels going on in your mind, which, of course, is going to stop you from applying the letting go without exception. But if you go, well, it's all the same, and it is one answer, one problem and one solution. One problem is I believe in separation, and I have a perceptual problem here. One solution, separation isn't true, none of this is true, and I can go back to oneness. One problem, one solution in every situation. That's all Yeshua's asking us to do. Which, or it's simple, but because our minds are like, we're so trained in, okay, but we've got all hierarchies and the levels, and we've made all these rules about how they're, what's difficult and what's not, then it's difficult for us because we've got to unwind all of that. But the answer is always very simple. So again, just like in that moment, if you think that thought again, oh, well, the dog barking is harder than, or the cold is harder than the dog barking, you make these distinctions. Stop yourself and say, no, it's all the same. There's no hierarchy of illusions. They are all on the same level of illusion, and there's therefore only one solution, which is to let go of it. And it's not harder to let go of the dog barking than to let go of a cold, than to let go of a cancer tumor. It's all the same. And if you really get that, then everything's easy. It's like, oh, well, I can just let it go, let it go, let it go. I'm not making exceptions anymore. The ego only continues to exist because of you make exceptions. Oh, well, I can do it in that instance, but not in that one. Oh, exception. Okay, now we still got you on that. And it keeps switching it. If you get it in one area, then it might switch it to another and go, okay, well, now we'll create a difficulty for you there. So really this is about systematically going through your everything, saying, okay, well, that's an issue, deal with that, let it go. Oh, that pops up, deal with that. And wherever it comes up, you just deal with it. So as it rears its head, no, let it go, let it go. There's that sort of video game or something. The image came to mind. Hitting something with a hammer, something pops up, bang, 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 bang. And that's kind of what you're doing. Wherever it pops up, you just deal with it. And eventually there's nothing left because it's like throwing everything it possibly can at you. And you're like, well, I've just dealt with it all. And I'm at peace no matter what. Then you're in the enlightened state, and then you need do nothing more. But the paradox is, while you're here, well, really all you've got to do, the one thing you have to do is forgive or let go. Because if you don't do that, then the ego's still got you. So I need do nothing. That's the ultimate truth. While I'm here, the only thing I need to do is forgive, let go, so that I can restore my mind to the place of awareness that I need do nothing. It's a paradox, isn't it? You need to do something to get to a place where you need do nothing. But actually, you always need to do nothing. So it's remembering that even in the letting go, you need do nothing, because letting go restores your mind to the state of needing to do nothing and being comfortable in that. So the letting go or the forgiveness is an illusion, because actually you need do nothing, but it's the only illusion that leads you to the truth. You see? You get that? It's the only way out of the illusion. So it's an illusion, but it's the only one that doesn't create more illusions. It collapses all illusions and leads you to the truth. Which is why, it's the single thing we're learning. Because everything else creates more illusions. But this is the one end It's one illusion that ends all the others. Okay, so cracking on. Yad, if you read the next one. I think you're muted.
Therefore, your primary responsibility to yourself and everyone else is to use this power wisely, to choose loving thoughts, emotions, words, and actions that create an experience of peace, love, and joy for yourself and others, no matter what may arise to tempt you to choose fear.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
It's just the same, isn't it? Just making that choice.
Yeah. Choose loving thoughts, emotions, words, and actions.
Like I did when
no matter what. Remember this.
Yeah.
No matter what. Okay, so that's the no exceptions. Fluff in the bathroom, death in the family, it's all the same. No matter what.
It's like when I chose to feel joy when I heard the boys squabbling.
Yeah. So no matter what, I can choose joy. Because I can always choose. This is the power of decision. You can always choose in every situation. In the most extreme situations, you can always choose love, peace, and joy, as was demonstrated by Yeshua in his crucifixion. You think of people like Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps. You can choose it in the most extreme situations. It's possible. That's been proved by many human beings. So you can choose it in the little things that niggle you. You can choose it with the fluff in the bathroom, or your son staying up all night, the kitchen, dishes in the kitchen. You can choose it in every instance. And that's pretty exciting. So these, Sally, you want to read the next one?
These may include work pressures, relationship conflicts, financial worries, or anything else that seems to stress you. Stress is really just fear by another name, because all stress is the perception of some form of external threat, even if that's only a perceived threat to your expectations being fulfilled. Yeah, it was good. When I read that this morning, it was just like a little penny dropped. Oh yeah, stress is fear.
Stress is fear. And usually what we're fearing is that our expectations will not be met in some way. That's what the fear is. So can you see how fear and desire are completely tied in? I have an expectation of a desire of something to be a certain way. And now there's automatically, the more I desire that, the more I fear that's not going to happen. And my expectations aren't going to be met. You see how that works? This is why the Buddha noticed 2,500 years ago. He said, well, desire then is the source of all suffering, dukkha, he called it, because desire leads to this ongoing anxiety, ongoing fear. Oh, things aren't going to work out as I want them to work out. But that's not reality. That's just in your mind. It's an expectation of reality that you've set up, and you've gone, in order for me to be happy and peaceful, I expect this and this and this to happen. These are the conditions of my peace. We have the most ridiculous conditions. Fluff in the bathroom. That's ridiculous if you really look at it. How can that be the condition of your peace? But this is what the ego does. It tries to dumb you down to the level of form and being the victim then of a circumstance like fluff on the bathroom floor. You can laugh at it, can't you? It's ridiculous. How can you, an eternal being, you're pure formless awareness of perfect love, and you've been that eternally. How can that being be affected in any way, shape, or form by fluff on the bathroom floor? So maybe you sit with that and think that thought when you looking at the fluff on the bathroom floor, and you'll go, oh my God, that's just so funny, and you'll have a good laugh, and you'll just enter into this expanded state. Who knows?
Or it could be that I realise that the fluff on the bathroom floor is the distraction from the bigger issues that I'm not looking at.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things you can learn from fluff on a bathroom floor, just by looking at it differently. It's a distraction. So the ego's master of distraction. Go focus your attention there so that you're not focusing on other things. Ultimately, again, catch yourself there, because there are no bigger issues. It's all the same, you see.
Well,
the bigger issues seem to be bigger.
Other issues.
It seems to be bigger, but it's not really, because fluff on the bathroom floor or attachment to, special relationship like your son. It's all the same. It's in the same domain of illusion.
Well, yeah, but things like being able to pay your bills is kind of feels a bit more real than fluff on the bathroom floor, doesn't it?
It does, but again, it's, if you're going to apply this thought system, no hierarchy of illusions, paying your bills, fluff on the bathroom floor, sickness, death, it's all the same. It's an illusion. None of it's true.
So I can apply the same to how I treat the bathroom floor and the fluff there. I can apply the same to my financial situation and all everything else. It's the same principles.
And if you can do that, then you'll find release. But if you make an exception, go, well, okay, fluff on the bathroom floor I can handle, but bills to pay, oh, no, I can't handle that because now I've made an exception. That's a bigger issue. Now, what have you done? You've blown up the illusion into something big that you can't deal with. Did you ever see the Star Wars movie? It's a great scene where Yoda is the spiritual master. He's training Luke, who's the apprentice, Luke Skywalker, and he's saying, well, you've got to raise your craft, your spacecraft out of the mud. It's got stuck in the mud, so you got to lift it out the mud. And he's trying to do it with his mind, and he's going, oh, no, it's too big. He can lift a stone, but he can't lift the whole spacecraft. He says, oh, no, it's too big. And Yoda goes, okay, and he goes, and he lifts it out, and he says, it's only big in your mind. It's no different to the stone that you lifted. It's the same. There's no order of difficulty there's no hierarchy of illusions, in other words. It's only big in your mind. There's an obstacle in your mind, that's all. You could have lifted it if you hadn't believed it was big. It was your belief that stopped you. And great spiritual teachings in these movies. Like there's you got no hierarchy of illusions right there in the middle of a Star Wars movie.
That's quite stunning, isn't it? That's a really stunning sort of idea that's only big in our minds. I know that seems obvious maybe to you, but it's like, God, yeah, some people seem to have I seem to have quite small things going on. Yeah, all right. So that's just dropped in a bit deeper now. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Well, these examples, that's why I put them in, because you just never know what's gonna lead to a little spiritual aha moment.
Yeah,
there's nothing big except in your perception of it.
Yeah.
So the fluff in my bathroom is actually a real blessing because it's an easy thing to train with, isn't it? Because there's no big emotional attachment there would be to paying the bills, but there's a lot of things that play there. So thank you.
Well, the bigness, you see, is only in your own perception. Bills, it's an emotionally charged issue because it goes to the level of survival of the body. So now the ego is at stake here. Survival of the body. Are you going to be able to survive? Are you going to die because you can't pay your bills? All this kind of stuff comes in. Whereas fluff in the bathroom, even the ego, as insane as it is, can't really do that much with that. Maybe if you really tried, I suppose you could. I'm sure there's people with fluff in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, allergies and stuff.
Allergies and fetishes and pathologies, because you can if you really want to. But money is an easy one to get triggered by because it goes to the very core of your so-called existence, your continued existence as a body on this planet. Well, apparently the ego is telling you need money in order to sustain your existence. If you don't have money, then this is going to potentially threaten and potentially kill you. And so you're dealing with fundamental illusions. But it's the same illusions as you're dealing with in the bathroom fluff. It's all the same thought system. So
every time you say that, it makes us laugh, doesn't it? Yeah. Every time you bring it back to the fluff.
Back to the fluff.
It's an absolutely brilliant analogy, in a real life experience. So it's great. It's great to have something real to hang it onto rather than just talking theory, isn't it?
Well, that's the whole point. It's to translate it into the practice of your life. Okay, what are the experiences that I'm having? And bathroom, fluff on the bathroom floor. Well, that's what you're experiencing, and a lot of people do. They experience all this kind of little stuff that gets them. Well, it doesn't have to. So your life is your spiritual practice. Just applying this rigorously, moment by moment. That's your spiritual practice. And fluff on the bathroom floor is no more or less important than paying your bills. It's all the same. Okay, so any thoughts, comments, questions on that quote, on the teaching?
My thought is your teaching is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the whole talking about it and the sharing reality, linking up the Course in Miracles with our perceived reality is just so valuable.
Yeah.
What you just said just then about how the fluff is as important as the money, like turning it around again, that's just like really landed. Oh my goodness.
Well, just making these connections really,
Yeah.
and when you see it, then you go, wow, this teaching is so powerful. This can absolutely change my life if I just really apply it without exception. And it's a life-changing teaching. I think too many people just don't do that. I've been working with the course for 10 years, but well, I mean, you haven't fully applied it. It's not full transfer of training, as Yeshua would call it. It's not like everything is now seen differently through the lens of Course in Miracles, through the miracle mindedness. There's still all these exceptions going on.
But like Tony Robbins actually says that we don't change until the discomfort we're feeling in our current situation becomes greater than the discomfort of changing. Right. And so a lot of people don't feel it, whereas I'm feeling that discomfort. I just can't live the discomfort of what's going on and it's only in my head. And I can't. So that's what's forcing me to turn up to the sessions and to apply the the course. So a lot of people, I suppose, if they're not feeling, if they can live with their discomfort, then there's no incentive, is there, for them to?
Yeah. It's when the discomfort becomes unbearable that you change. And so part of this process is when you become more vigilant and more aware. Yeshua actually says at one point in the course, is seemingly minor intrusions of discomfort, which previously you didn't really notice, now become much more acute. As your sensitivity is being sharpened. And so what was previously just, that's just normal for me. Now it's like, oh, that's actually very uncomfortable. So that's part of the process of vigilance. So you don't tolerate even the minor discomforts anymore. Why would you tolerate one little bit of the ego's thought system? Why would you allow it? This is what he's training your mind to say, no, you're not going to allow any of it. You stop it at every point. And this is the fast track to awakening. Moment by moment, decision by decision. I'm aware of ego. I'm not going to tolerate even a minor little bit of it because it's the tip of the iceberg. A little anxiety is the tip of the iceberg, and beneath that is the whole thought system of separation, guilt, fear, sin, attack. It all lies beneath that little anxiety. So saying don't tolerate that. Go use that anxiety to drill deeper into the core, get to the 90% that's unconscious, and use it to undo some more of that unconscious thought system, the block to the awareness of love's presence that the ego is. It sits in your subconscious. And then the fluff in the bathroom floor becomes your key to enlightenment. Amazing. Wow. Like
it's absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm going to have to go now. So I'll go and meditate on the floor.
Go, spend 5 minutes, just sit on the toilet and go, okay, so I'll just
meditate on it.
Meditate on
my life transform. That's excellent.
Yeah,
and so much. I really appreciate it.
And post your experience in the group. Tell us how it went.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. I'll see you probably next week because I can't come tomorrow. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Namaste.
Can we have a 2-minute break?
Yes, we can indeed. We have a break and we'll go into the lesson. And that's great because I'll stop the recording, pause the recording. All right. Okay, we're ready to roll again.
Yeah.
Let's okay, so what are we doing? All right, so let's continue, shall we? Is that happening? There we go. Start recording again. All right. So let's have a look at today's lesson. Look like there's a lot of translation, but might be a little bit going on here. So that. Okay. Decision is my own. How long have you got, Sally?
Maybe until 4 o'clock.
Till 4. Oh wow. Okay, so 2 hours.
Yeah, maybe. Depends if something turns up that I have to do.
Right. Okay, so let's just get this. Let's make it a bit bigger. Do translation. Okay. So yeah, any thoughts on what we just discussed related to the lesson?
So much, so much. It's been a really, really good discussion this morning and or this afternoon. Yeah, just the decision, isn't it? It's just that decision to be fully present, to be aware, to do the work, to do the vigilance, isn't it? It's all decision.
The power of decision is my own. All right, so
and I like the bit about it's our decision when we die as well. Find that
yes.
quite
yeah, exactly. It's all just
I always thought it, but it's nice to see it in print.
all a choice. Power of decision is my own. Okay, so
it's just frustrating when you don't realize you've chosen it, like being sick or having a cold or whatever. The frustration for me this morning was not realizing I'd chosen it or not being conscious.
No.
Let go of that.
The choice is unconscious, isn't it? You don't know that you've chosen it, but this is about making the choice conscious. So you're okay. I am choosing it, and if I'm aware I'm choosing it, then I can make another choice. So total responsibility leads to total freedom. Because if you're totally responsible, you chose all of it, then you can free yourself from it. But if there's an instance where you're not responsible, and there really is something outside of you that can cause you to suffer, then you're a victim.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what this comes down to: total responsibility in each moment for your own awareness. What are you thinking? What are you believing? What are you feeling? You have a choice.
It does help to know that I'm choosing it. Going to the dog barking scenario, I kept slipping into powerlessness. It's like, this has been going on for so long. Why can't I get to understand what it's about? But being aware that I'm choosing it in itself puts me in the power, puts me in my own power.
Yeah, right now I'm choosing my response. I'm choosing to get irritated. I'm choosing to get upset. Okay, well, if I know I'm choosing it, why am I choosing it? Doesn't make sense. Why am I choosing to get upset and be in a state of mind that's call it suffering. Why am I choosing suffering then? It'd be like choosing to hit your head against a brick wall. Well, if you're conscious, well, why would you choose? People say, well, that's ridiculous. Of course I wouldn't do that. But that's what they're doing repeatedly on a mental and emotional level, hitting their head against the brick wall of the ego, hurting themselves and going, well, it's not me, it's the wall.
Yeah.
That's not true. It's you deciding to do this over and over and over again. So make another choice. And this lesson is really just reminding us of that. The power of decision is my own.
Yeah. So she was like, she barks in the night quite a lot. And it's like, well, I was asleep. So how could I actually access the thought that created that scenario? But of course, if I do it in the daytime, when I'm conscious, then I can, change the whole whole picture.
Yeah. It's part of it. Remember projection, perception. The projection is so deep. Projection is you've gone out of your mind, believe you're a body, believe there's an external world, believe there's a dog barking. So you got to, look at it from the holistic perspective and see this is all a setup. The entire thing, the seeming, person I am with a separate dog, with noise, this is all part of the construct. With sense perceptions, seemingly an external world, this is all illusion. This is the construct that I've invented to bind my mind into the idea that I'm a separate self. So I get irritated. What does that do? Confirms I must be separate from the dog. That's all it's doing. Now I have some separate awareness. I feel separated from the dog, and it's not a very happy state of mind. So once you see the game, you go, okay, well, I get it. The ego is always just trying to perpetuate an identity of being a separate self, of being a victim of the world. It's just trying with the dog barking. Okay, same game. It's all the same. And there's one response to it. No, it's not true. I can let this go and I can find peace anyway. And that's the decision to make. Okay, so do you want to read?
The power of decision is my own. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision. No one suffers pain except his choice elects this state for him. No one can grieve, nor fear, nor think him sick unless there are the outcomes he wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs but represents your wish. And nothing is admitted that you choose. Here is your world, complete in all details. Here is its whole reality for you, and it's only here salvation is, awakening is. Yeah, very good.
So let's do a little translation of that and unpack it as we go. No one can suffer loss unless it be his own decision to do so. No one can suffer loss, and how about we make it her? Let's make it very like, yeah. If you're going to be fair, the ego applies to women as well. It's not just the men. No one can suffer loss unless it be your own decision to do so. No one suffers pain except, I'll leave that as a his choice elects the state for him. No one is there a better way of saying this? No one suffers pain except when his choice elects the state for him. It's a clumsy way of saying it. Except when he chooses the state, I think. What do you think? Except when he chooses the state.
Yeah, makes more sense.
Just clearer. Yeah. Sometimes he does this. It's like such a roundabout way of saying what's really simple. When he chooses the state. No one can grieve or fear or think him sick or one can grieve or fear or believe she is sick.
Unless these are the outcomes that she wants.
Maybe not believe, maybe just, or be sick, unless these are the outcomes that she wants. And no one dies without his own consent. So he's taking it to the, we die because we choose to die.
Mm.
So the moment you come here, you choose to die.
Mm.
The ego is a death wish. So inevitably, the moment you're born, you've chosen to die. Now in time, that might, happen 80, 90 years later, but the choice is there. So what Yeshua's saying is, don't choose a death wish. Why would you choose to come to a state, a place where you're guaranteed to die? Nothing occurs but represents your wish. So nothing occurs that does not represent your wish. And nothing is omitted that you choose.
That's quite scary, isn't it? Or any of those random thoughts.
Yeah, this is total responsibility. What he's saying here is you're totally responsible for your experience in the world. Now, you didn't choose all of this consciously. You go, well, how can I be responsible for the war in Ukraine or corruption and with politicians or whatever? That's not in my conscious control. But what we chose was the idea of separation, which then has all of these unfortunate consequences. And as long as you believe in the idea of separation, you are choosing all of these consequences for them to remain in place. So here is your world, complete in all details. Your choice has made it as it is. Here's its whole reality for you. And it is only here salvation is. And salvation is?
Awakening.
It is only here about that you can awaken.
Okay.
All right, so read that from the top.
No one can suffer loss unless it be her own decision to do so. No one suffers pain except when he chooses this state. No one can grieve or fear or be sick unless these are the outcomes that she wants. And no one dies without his own consent. Nothing occurs that does not represent your wish, and nothing is admitted that you choose. Here is your world complete in all details. Here is its whole reality for you, and it is only here that you can awaken. Yeah, very clear, isn't it?
One thing you can't accuse Yeshua ever of is being ambiguous and unclear. He's extremely clear with what he's saying. Just will you accept what he's saying? Because a lot of people, I can't accept that I'm totally responsible for my life here. Well, if you don't want to accept it, the only alternative is that you're a victim and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, choose. Do you want that thought system, or do you want, total responsibility? But this equals total freedom, because this awareness then allows you to change your mind at any point, make a different decision, and free yourself. Okay?
Yep. Okay.
Happy with
Yep.
happy with that one?
Happy with that life-changing sentence or paragraph? Yes, thank you. Okay, number 2. You may believe that this position is extreme and too inclusive to be true. Yet, can truth have exceptions? If you have the gift of everything, can loss be real? Can pain be a part of peace or grief of joy? Can fear and sickness enter into a mind where love and perfect holiness abide? Truth must be all-inclusive, if it be the truth at all. Accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely.
Yeah. So again, very clear. You can't accept any opposites because that contradicts the truth entirely. One thing is not true, that one thing that isn't true is true, then the truth is contradicted entirely. So it's an absolute. It's either this or that, and you're choosing in every moment what you want to believe. The only thing I think needs maybe some translation is perfect holiness. So should we call it perfectly? Perfectly whole awareness, abide. Love and perfectly whole awareness. Abide, a bit old-fashioned, but exist. Perfect whole and awareness, present. Love and perfectly whole awareness and present. Okay, so what is he saying here in summary?
It's all or nothing. No exceptions.
Oh. Can this really happen? Can you have pain and sickness and fear in a mind where there's just pure formless awareness, perfectly whole awareness are present? How's that possible? Saying it's not really possible. This is one or the other. Accept no opposites and no exceptions, for to do so is to contradict the truth entirely. So this is why hypervigilance is required. Because you accept one opposite, one contradiction, one exception, then you're contradicting the truth. You're denying the whole truth in that, just in that thought, in that feeling. So you must counter that. Say, no, I don't want this. I want only the truth in every instance.
Yeah.
So applying this without exception to everything and everyone is what he's asking us to do. Which you might say, well, that's impossible or really difficult. Sorry, Sally?
It's good that it's complete. It's good that there's no contradictions in it.
Well, it's the only way. If you've got one contradiction, then the entire teaching is invalidated. This is what he's saying. So most spiritual teachings have contradictions built into them. It's like, well, yes, they'll acknowledge the other domain, the spirit and God, and then they'll kind of try and bring some illusions into that and kind of make that work somehow. That the contradiction somehow can maintain within the same thought system. I had a chat a year ago to a guy about it's actually a business thing. And then we got into a conversation about non-duality. And he said, no, I'm of the other school of non-duality. So, oh, really? There's another school? So how can there be another school of non-duality? Because then you've got duality. It's not another school of non-duality. It's duality. It's the opposite. No. You can have the truth. He understood infinite absolute Brahman. He studied A Course in Miracles a bit, and he was into Advaita Vedanta. And then he devolved that into Tantra. So Tantra, in his way of looking at it, I think there's other interpretations of it, but Tantra is about saying, well, there's some value in form. You can have a valuable experience in form. So through the pleasure of eating food or having sex, or whatever the action is, whatever the experience, if you're totally present, you can find a way into ultimate truth. And this is the path to enlightenment. This is what Tantra is saying. But really, what he was doing was he was using the Tantra to make the illusion real, because you're saying, well, the illusion has value to me, rather than, no, it has no value. Actually, I only value ultimate truth. And he's saying, well, I said, you can't do that. There's a contradiction. The one denies the other. He said, oh, yes, I can. I said, no, you can't. If you think you can, you're deluding yourself. You can't, because separation and oneness contradict each other. There's a fundamental split in your mind, and the only way of healing that split is to choose one and let go of the other. You can't ever let go of truth, because it's your true awareness. That's impossible. So the only possibility, realistic possibility open to you is to let go of what's false, which is what Yeshua is asking us to do, and make no exceptions to that. Because one little thought of separation, and you believe that's true, then denies the truth entirely, because it's just a thought. So you have to be all-inclusive, and you have to make no exceptions. Otherwise, the ego is still very much in business. And we're only here because we haven't decided. We have some truth and some illusion going on in our mind. We believe both. And if you haven't made up your mind, then you come back here until you have made up your mind. So this is where people who are confused and not able to decide one way or another come, until eventually they learn to make the one choice that they need to make over and over and over again in each situation. The choice for truth and to let go of the illusion. Okay, any thoughts on that?
No, I find it very comforting.
Yeah, it's rigorous, and he didn't like it because he actually wanted the illusion. He was like, oh no, it's like, I've been into the non-dual stuff and it was too much for me and I couldn't cope with it. So I needed another way. His ego was trying to find a way out, and then it found a spiritual path, and then said, oh, well, that's spiritual, so that's okay. So you can now justify the denial of truth on spiritual grounds, because this is an authentic spiritual path. And it's not really. It's just the ego dressed up in disguise as a spiritual path, saying, oh, this is not actually genuinely going to work, when actually it's not. And it does that all the time. So there's many paths out there, but a lot of them, if they're dualistic by nature, and they don't have this absolute, okay, it's this or that, then there's no real answer there. They might help you temporarily to be happier. You might cultivate some more awareness. So I'm not saying they're a complete waste of time, but eventually you're going to have to go beyond them and say, well, actually, where am I going with this? Because actually there's no ultimate decision that I'm being asked to make here. Whereas with Yeshua, is very clear. This course is like there's one way and one way only that's going to work. So it's very clear. There's no ambiguity, which is amazing. Most paths it's ambiguous, and the ego can use that to continue with the confusion. With this course, it's like there's no confusion. I don't know how people interpret it differently. People do, but I mean, he's so clear in his words. How do you misinterpret? Only the truth is true and nothing else is true. How do you misinterpret that? I mean, he couldn't be clearer. And yet, I know Course in Miracles teachers who do or they just ignore it. They don't focus on that bit, and they just they don't even read it, and they don't pay attention to it. They just bypass it because they don't want to see it. They want to put their own interpretation into the course.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's translate the read the
So
translate as we go.
Yeah, okay. So salvation, which is awakening, is the recognition that the truth is true and nothing else is true. As you've heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. Without the first, the second has no meaning. But without the second, is the first no longer true? Truth cannot have an opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about. or if what is not true is true as well as that is true, then part of the truth is false. Is there another way of saying that? For if what
is not true,
is true as
well as what is true.
What is true, then part of the truth is false. Oh, that's a mind bender.
Yeah, it is a bit, but actually really simple. It's saying, well, what is not true is true. So what's false is actually true as well as what is true. Now you have what, you know, what this chap that I spoke to, that was his thought system. It's all true. Illusions are as true as the truth. Okay, well, if illusions are as true as the truth, how on earth do I make a decision then? So then it is as valid to go and kill someone as it is to go hug them and love them. That's what you're saying. Because it's all equally true. You see, I mean, if you take it, that's an extreme example, but it illustrates the point really well, doesn't it? You have to choose. You can't say, oh, it's okay to fear and hate and attack and kill. That's one thought system, and that's as equally true as it is to love and have peace and joy and, you know, spread good vibes in the world. These are clearly contradictory. You can't do both and justify them. But that's what you're saying if you accepting that there some of what is false is true. You're accepting that the thought system of that's false, that is fearful and hatred and attack characterize it, is as true as love, peace, and joy. Well, clearly that doesn't make any sense. I mean, just even if you're not spiritual, so-called, you would go, well, yeah, it's not really acceptable to go around killing people or hurting people. We understand that. So therefore, you know, you can't do that. There's a choice. There's an evaluation of a thought system. This is correct and this isn't correct. If you don't have that and it's all true, then how would you make those kinds of choices? You just couldn't. So this resolves actually all moral and ethical dilemmas if you really understand this, because you can always choose the truth, and then the Holy Spirit guides you to apply that in specific instances. It's not always that clear, but this is part of the, you know, the art of letting go. It's like, okay, well, just understand how to apply this truth rigorously without exception in each apparent situation and circumstance, and realize that actually, no, there's nothing really different. They're all the same. And that's the mind training that we're doing, the application to everything we experience in this world. Okay, so awakening is recognition the truth is true and nothing else is true. You got that? This you've heard before, but may not yet accept both parts of it. So what I like about it is he's really systematic. He's breaking it down, breaking the statement down. Truth is true and nothing else is true. So without the first, the second has no meaning. Okay, fair enough. Without that first statement, the truth is true, nothing else is true, doesn't make sense if you don't have the first statement. The truth is true. But without the second, the first is no longer true, right? So without that, and nothing else is true. Oh, something else is true, then only the truth is true is no longer true. You see that?
Yeah.
So truth cannot have an opposite. This cannot be too often said and thought about. Okay, so he's saying, think about this all the time, because in your daily life, in all these experiences, these little experiences of fluff and dogs barking, the truth is true and nothing else is true. If you apply that to the situation, you have the way out of the apparent conflict in your mind. And the way you apply it is called letting go. You simply let go of the one option. Okay, so that perception that I have of the dog barking that's irritating me, that is a misperception, and it's really an acknowledgement that something else is true. You see, one little bit of irritation acknowledges that there's something else than perfect love that's true. So in this instant right now, I am believing in the thought system separation. I'm denying the truth in this moment. Okay, I recognize what I'm doing now. If I'm aware of what I'm doing, then I can correct it. Okay, let me let it go. I don't have to keep believing this. I can drop my resistance. I don't have to feel any negative emotion, and I can enter into a state of love, peace, and joy again, even though the dog's barking. So now you've applied this teaching in a very practical instance, haven't you? only the truth is true, nothing else is true. Because the danger is it can be very abstract. Well, what does that actually mean? It's all very theoretical, abstract, and a lot of people then are not able to apply it in life. But he's saying, but apply it in each instance, and you apply it by forgiving or letting go of any situation that's causing you any kind of upset. That's how you apply this teaching that only the truth is true and nothing else is true. Rigorously in life. Just don't make any exceptions to the letting go process. Okay, so then let's look at, so truth cannot opposite of this cannot be too often said and thought about. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Now just remind yourself frequently. This is your practice. Only the truth is true, nothing else is true. That thought alone will keep you vigilant for the ego in all of its ways. 4. If what is not true is true, as well as what is true. You break it down like that. Does it make sense?
Mm.
What is not true is true as well as what is true. Then part of truth is false, because now you have untruth that's entered in, and it's as true as the truth. And now you can't decide, well, what's true. And this is how the ego works. It's confused you about the truth, so you don't know what's true and what's false anymore. It all seems to be true. And the only way of making any true decision is to become aware of what's true and what's false. So this is the mind training. What's true and what's false. He's training us through this course to become aware of that, acutely aware of it, because then the second step of letting go of what's false becomes obvious, doesn't it?
Mm.
I know what's true and what's false, and I'm clear about that. Well, the next step's like, well, I see very clearly, so I just let go of what's false. I won't think those thoughts. I won't believe that anymore. But if I think it's both true, then I'm very confused. I have these contradictory thoughts knocking around in my mind, and I think they're both true, and I have no basis for choice, no basis for decision. So how do I make any kind of choices then? There's a version of non-duality, which that guy that I mentioned in that conversation was propounding, which is false. That it's all true. You might have come across this. Oh, well, God made everything. It's all true. It's all good. It's all part of the oneness. It's all true. Oh, okay, so God made sickness and suffering and pain and death and all of the disasters and etc. we see in this world. That's really what it's saying. So now God has got a split mind. God is insane. God is love on the one hand, but also pain, sickness, suffering, and death. Well, now you have a dualistic conception of God, which keeps you here. That dualistic conception of God is a false God. That God is in fact the ego. That's the belief in separation there, masquerading as the truth. So that version of duality, it's all God, including the illusion. It doesn't cut it with Yeshua. It's saying no. You've got to see illusions for what they are, because that's the only way you can choose against them. So none of this, nothing that is not perfectly peaceful, loving, and joyful is of God. It has nothing to do with God at all. It's a complete delusion. Okay, well now I have a basis for choosing. That's so helpful. So this is the only path I've found that is this clear. He's absolutely clear, and there's no ambiguity. There's no conflict. If you apply the thought system, you're never going to be confused. It's not necessarily always easy to do, of course. You know, it's like, well, what's true and what's not? This is the learning. But the principle is absolutely clear. So there's no ambiguity. Whereas pretty much every other spiritual path I've come across, other than Advaita, which I've looked at, because Advaita Vedanta is the Eastern equivalent of A Course in Miracles. It's a pure non-dual teaching. Anything that's not purely non-dual is fudging it. There's ambiguity. There's like, okay, well, you know, what is it then? Like, is it this or is it that? And now I'm a bit confused. Is it spirit? Is it ego? Is this world illusion? Or, you know, and most people are still, even high spiritual teachers. I mean, you know, people like Eckhart Tolle, I've heard him speak, and it's like, Eckhart, did you fudging it there? You're kind of going, the truth is true, but the illusion is also true. And you're not making a clear distinction for people. So then, like, where do they go with that? Okay, they're getting some new ideas, they're getting some more awareness, that's all good. But at some point, you got to go, well, where's this thing going to end up? Am I just going to keep being human and reincarnating, or am I actually going, outside of this entirely? I'm leaving this domain of time and space entirely. And most teachers stop short of that ultimate goal, because they're not teaching a non-dual teaching. Non-dual says there's only truth. That's the ultimate reality that transcends time and space. And that's where you're going. That's your ultimate destination. And don't get delayed by anything in this world, because this isn't reality. You don't want this at all. So you've got to let go of the entire world. Not many teachings do that. So you have, this is the top of the tree. There's nowhere else to go beyond non-dual. This is it. You master this. We've been completely deluded. The ego's right, and this is all a hoax, and we're going down the wrong path. That's one option. It's either completely false, what we're studying. Yeshua is the biggest liar ever. He's a deceiver of note, and he's leading us down the garden path. He's, Satan in heavy disguise, or what he's telling us is absolute truth, and it is going to free us. Those are the options. Well, I think we kind of know intuitively, because you feel it. Your heart tells you this is true, and you resonate, and you feel the love and the joy and the peace. It has to be true, because you're feeling those feelings when that's the characteristic of truth. So that's how we start to discern between truth and illusion. What does it feel like? Does it feel good or not? It feels good, like genuinely good, like not false good. The ego has a version of what's good, but you start to get that actually that's just a very it's just a covering. It's a very temporary, and actually underlying it is a feeling of not good. But if it's genuinely feeling good, then then it's truth. And so you come off these calls and you feel genuinely good and inspired. That's telling you, this is true, what you're learning. And that's how you ultimately discern between truth and illusion. Okay, so do you want to summarize number 3 in your own words?
Nothing but truth is true and everything else is false.
Only the truth is true and nothing else is true. And so that second part is the vigilance, isn't it? Nothing else is true is there's apparently something else going on. That's what this world is made out of, false thoughts and beliefs projected out. But reminding myself that nothing else is true keeps me vigilant for the truth and only the truth. So that's the vigilance and awareness moment by moment.
Okay. Number 4.
Okay. Can this be a judgment? Truth has lost its meaning. Sorry. Still making sure we get the right thing there. I was like, that's a bit of a non sequitur because it's from the previous lesson. That's why. Okay. This is the simplest of distinctions.
This is the simplest of distinctions, yet the most obscure, but not because it is difficult, not because it's a difficult distinction to perceive. It is conceived behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely your own. And thus the truth appears to have some aspects that belie consistency, but do not seem to be, but contradictions introduced by you. Okay, I lost me there somewhere. So this is the simplest of...
Unpack it from the start, yeah. This is the simplest of distinctions.
This is the simplest of distinctions, less yet the most obscure. Yeah, okay, get that?
It seems to be so obscure.
Yeah.
But actually it's really, really simple.
Yeah.
But most people haven't got to the simplicity of this realization. That's why they say ultimate enlightenment is simple. And it's a joke, because when you get it, you go, oh, that's so simple. Why couldn't I see that before? Because it was obscured by the seeming array of choices that you have in this world. And you couldn't see beyond those choices to the truth that there's only one choice ultimately to make. You're only ever making a choice between truth and illusion. not because it is a difficult decision to perceive. Right? So it's not really actually difficult. If you come into true awareness with a teaching like this, okay, only the truth is true, nothing else is true. How difficult is that, really? But this simplicity is concealed behind a vast array of choices that do not appear to be entirely your own. So there are many choices, many decisions we seem to have to make. They don't appear to be entirely your own. Okay, well, I seem to be bound by laws and rules of this world. Like you had mentioned one, your bills to pay. That seems to be outside of my choice. I seem to have to pay bills. I have to pay for food and I have to pay for rent. That just seems to be the way it is. Seems to be outside of my choice, imposed on me by the external world. But that's not the case, because I set it all up just on a deeper level. Right? This entire world is a product of a thought system of separation. It's just got deeply entrenched, and now I'm not consciously aware that actually, yes, ultimately I am responsible, because this thought system of separation that I believe in, it has the effect of this kind of a insane system of money and bills to pay and obligations, and seemingly threatened because you don't have enough money. This is the consequence of separation. So yes, I am responsible, even though not directly responsible in terms of my direct thoughts and actions in this world. It's a responsibility on a deeper level. Does that make sense?
Just wondering if then I can make a world where I don't have to pay bills. That'd be good.
It's possible, absolutely. Like that idea seeded, and everyone believed that it could be possible because it's just a collective belief. But it would require, a systemic shift that a lot of people started to believe that. And there are people, working towards that ideal of like a cashless, no money society where it's possible to live without money. Of course, it's possible. If we want it, the desire starts, and then we believe it. It's possible, and then we share it. Like it's a shared. Society is a product of a shared belief system. That's all it is. It's a projection of collective belief. So if we go to the integral model quickly, you see it, illustrated very well. Product of collective belief.
So I can't do it by myself then. I can't make that decision and believe it.
No, you can. Yeah, here's the power of this. You can absolutely do it by yourself. However, the system won't change. The system will remain if you're the only person. You can simply make a choice not to really be bound by that. So you could say, well, this bills to pay system doesn't work for me, so I can ignore it. Okay, well, maybe that means that I go off the grid. I go live somewhere else. I go out of society, drop out of society as such, and I try and become self-sustainable. That's a choice I've got. I could choose to go into a monastery or an ashram, remove myself from that worldly stuff, exist on donations from the community. So I remove myself from the monetary system, having to earn money and do all that. Another choice could be, well, I'll make so much money that money becomes irrelevant. It's not relevant anymore. I've more than enough of it, so there's no limitation there. You see, so there's a number of choices that you can make, which are empowering. Okay, I have a choice, and ultimately, this is kind of the space I'm playing in. Okay, so why can't the whole system change? Just from a thought, you have now a thought. Yes, we could live in a better way without the bills to pay. We could create another system. Okay, that's thought, individual thought. But if that thought can be collectivized and other people can be convinced that this is the way to go, and people believe this on a collective level, and you get millions and millions of people believing in this, then the system will change. So you create a better system. Integral model will say, okay, so what do you want? What's your intention? Okay, we want a society without money, ultimately, where people can live, happily, freely. They can pursue their true passions, and they're supported in that. And we don't have this desperate, need for generating this money stuff to survive. Okay, so that's the thought. Now, how does that play out as a system? So now design the system that's in alignment with the intention. You design the system, and then if you put it out there to other people, and we've got the communication technology now to do that on a mass scale very cheaply, and people start believing in this, and when they actually adopt the system, their belief is reinforced. Oh, actually this works. Wow, I'm using the system that works, so the belief's being reinforced. Then the new system will work. And Buckminster Fuller said that the way out of any old system is not to fight it. You simply create a new system that's better, that makes the old one redundant. So a better system that works better based on truth comes in, people use it, and they use it and they see, it's self-evident, this works better. So now their belief in truth is reinforced through the system. And this feedback mechanism we talked about reinforces the truth. So now you have systems that are designed for truth and not for illusion, to reinforce truth. Why not? Why couldn't we do that? Why do the systems have to be false? Why couldn't they be true, based on a true thought system? And I think we're coming into an age where this is possible. We now have the technology, information technology, that will allow on a mass scale the culture, collective consciousness, we call it, to change quite quickly. And then that can be very easily and quickly systematized through this information technology that we have, to allow a new system to come into being pretty quickly that gives expression to the change of mind, of the collective mind. So that's pretty interesting. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, if you apply this, you can actually change the world. One person with a powerful intention can then influence others. So then that influences the whole collective, can change millions of people's minds. We have the technology to do that pretty quickly and effectively and easily now, cheaply. I mean, Telegram, WhatsApp, email costs nothing. So very, very, very quickly, effectively, cheaply. And now, if you could create a system that people could then, it's not just a thought, oh, this would be a nice idea, that's just in the interior domain. You actually create a system that expresses the thought, and they can actually use the system to do useful stuff like support themselves and live in this world. Now you have an integral system that, if it's coming from truth, would be a whole lot better than the illusory system. It would work better than the false system. It would be sustainable. And then people would be learning the truth through through operating the system. And now the Holy Spirit is guiding the whole thing in an integral way. Now that's pretty exciting, I think. That's all possible in our lifetime. Maybe it's never been possible before, but we're in an age where this is now possible, where mass change, not in generations, mass change in a few years is possible because of the societal setup. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to use that for truth, or are you just going to allow the illusion to sustain? So it is possible to change it all. It starts with your own.
How I imagined it would be, I would change my belief completely and be really sure of it, because I've got no resistance to bills. Yeah. And just decide, just for the sheer fun of it, I won't have any bills. And I imagined that, I didn't really see it as the bigger scheme of changing it on a larger scale, but just seeing it for myself. So I used to have this thing about free food. I thought if I focused enough on free food, then I would get it, which I did for a while. I kind of drifted a bit from that, but it happened. And so in my illusion, I can create a way of living without time. I don't need to create a new, my own farm or whatever it is to create the food, because I don't need the linear story to go with it. I can just decide, just for the sheer fun of it, I have no bills. It just seems like a fun game.
Yeah. So if you play with that on the level of the interior, this is the what miracle mindedness is teaching us. You change your mind in the individual interior, the intentional domain, then things are going to show up in the exterior because of that intention, because you're reprogramming the matrix. So go play in the changing your mind, changing your intentions, and then see what happens. You don't necessarily know the outcome. You don't have no fixed idea of, oh, it has to look this way. You go, I'm just changing my intention. Okay, so no bills. It'd be nice to just be free of bills, of money entirely. Let's hold that intention and let's see what happens. Let's see how that unfolds. Now that might unfold on a personal level. Your behavior changes. Maybe you grow your own food. You get inspired to become sustainable, go off the grid. So that's now in the individual exterior. You can make certain choices, and you've got control of that. But then who knows, because you hold that intention powerfully and you're actually living it in your behavior, you're in integrity, other people notice that, and then the collective starts getting influenced. So now the culture starts to change, and you develop a following. And people go, oh, wow, no, Sally's amazing. She's doing this. I like that. So now they start adopting the same belief system. So now you've changed the collective mind. And then if enough people change on a collective basis, then the systems must follow, because they will create patterns of behavior. Everyone's starting to behave differently. The pattern, collective behavior, becomes a system in time, doesn't it? So you see how it all works together. And if it all starts with individual interior, with your intention, that's where it all starts and ends. Because it feeds all of the external domains, and the culture feed back into the interior. That's the alpha and omega. That's where it begins and where it ends. It all starts there, goes out, then comes back. It's a feedback loop to tell you, yes, this was a true intention, this was in alignment with truth, or not. So think of it as the world's just a feedback mechanism to tell you whether you're in alignment with truth or not. Now, that's pretty helpful. How else would you know? So, this is the only real purpose of the world. It's a feedback mechanism to allow you to determine the difference between truth and illusion via the feedback mechanisms that it provides. And so if you're suffering, you're getting a negative feedback, that's telling you your intention was out of alignment with truth. You weren't in truth. So you can correct it, you see. It's another way of looking at, that's all we have to do. The world is a big school to teach us what's true and what's not. And the feedback mechanism that it provides, the exterior world, is so helpful in doing that. So that's miracle minded. That's the reinterpretation of the whole world right here. Just using the integral model to explain it. But this is all embedded in the course. This integral model is all in there. He's saying projection, belief, your mind, that's interior, projects out, that's behavior. Collective level, that's systems, that feeds back. The behavior and the systems feed back into the mind and tell it that, yes, this belief is true, because the systems and the behavior now reinforce what's been projected out. So feedback mechanism. But you can use the same feedback mechanism with the Holy Spirit's guidance to free you. That's the exciting thing. You're not limited to just the ego's use of this. You can reinterpret all of this and use it for the one purpose of awakening to the truth of who you are, which is that you are only mind. In truth, the exterior domains don't exist. In truth, the only thing that exists is this one mind. Yad said, no, she felt lonely because she went into the oneness. Because you seemingly disconnecting from the world. But in this, you realize that you're actually one with everyone. So that you aren't really separate. The whole mind is there. You're one with your brothers. There's no one outside of that. Okay, so we'll dive into the integral model. I hope that was helpful. But
yeah,
kind of unpacking the lesson, isn't it? And like the depth and the profundity of these teachings. If you really look at it, I mean, you can become enlightened just from this one lesson, if you really apply it. Okay, so where were we? It's concealed behind a vast array of choices. So going back to this, the vast array of choices seem to be on the exterior. So the ego's confused us by going all this performance outcomes and observed behaviors and systems and blah, 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 and you have choices to make. But it doesn't want you to see that there's only one choice between this world and that world. Ultimately, you're choosing to go within, you're choosing this as your reality, and you're denying this entirely. That's the only choice to make. So that's phrasing in a different way. So the truth appears to have some aspects that belie consistency, but do not seem to be but contradictions introduced by you. But do not seem to be only the contradictions. Let me just take out the only contradictions introduced by you. So part of this awareness is saying, no, this is introduced by me. I'm choosing this. If I'm choosing to be confused and I'm choosing to see opposites to truth, then this is a contradiction introduced by me. I'm making a choice here to believe in illusion and not the truth. Okay, any thoughts, comments on that? Do you want to give a little summary?
It's one choice to make, truth or illusion.
Yeah. And don't be confused. It's actually really, really simple. Because it's between this domain, ultimately, to simplify the diagram, you're ultimately choosing between this domain, the exterior domain, and the interior domain. So that's the choice. You're not choosing among illusions. Most people get confused because they go, well, should I do this or should I do that? You know, should I have should I wear a blue shirt or a red one today? Or shall I buy this brand of toothpaste or that one? Or, you know, shall I send my child to this school or this one? And they think these choices are meaningful, but it's all within the domain of the illusion. What Yeshua is asking us to do is to see it all for what it is and deny it all. So make the one choice for the truth and deny all illusions. So you're making a choice for another dimension of reality. Okay, so moving swiftly on then to number 5.
As God created you, are we going to translate as we go? As pure formless awareness created you, you must remain unchangeable with transitory states, by definition, false. And that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations in conditions of the body and the mind, and all awareness, and in all response.
As pure formless awareness of perfect love extended you, you must remain unchangeable. So if you're just an extension of that love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, you are the complete. Think of it like in the analogy in this world, be like the genes. The genes get copied, and it's an identical copy. You're an identical copy of that pure formless awareness of perfect love. You're just an extension of it. You're exactly the same. So you must remain as it is. You must remain unchangeable. If you're the identical copy of pure formless awareness of perfect love. The transitory states, by definition, false. And that includes all shifts in feeling, alterations and conditions of the body and the mind. In all awareness and in all response. Wow. Okay. So it's just like, what's he saying there? All of it. Any change whatsoever in your state of mind is an illusion. It's false. So this is the all-inclusiveness which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what it is. So if it can change, it's an illusion. If it's impermanent, it can change in any way, shape, or form. That could be a thought, an emotion, a state of mind. It could be a physical condition, a circumstance. All of it that can change is not true. So this is the all-inclusiveness which sets the truth apart from falsehood, and the false kept separate from the truth as what it is. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion, and it cannot be made into the truth. Okay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to know that that's the case.
Okay, do you want to summarize it in your own words? What's he saying there?
The truth is unchangeable and the illusion changes.
So all shifts.
All shifts are...
Is the all-inclusiveness. So all-inclusiveness of the truth means you must have no exceptions in the way you perceive the shifts, you see. Otherwise, the truth is no longer true. If you make exceptions, then the truth is no longer true. So you're seeing how the rigor of the practice, he's saying, Only the truth is true, the absolute truth, and nothing else is true. So that's the theory. But the practice of letting go without exception is what makes the theory applicable, and what will help you to believe that absolute truth. So the practice and the theory dovetail. They work together hand in glove. Okay,
So when
happy with that?
When people say the only thing that is definite in this world is change, they're talking about the illusion. Okay.
Yeah. And even, seemingly advanced spiritual people will make that mistake. I was on my Vipassana retreat. I spoke to the teacher. So she's been meditating for hours and hours a day for 25 years. And she's done like 30-day, 60-day Vipassana retreats, which you meditate like 12 hours a day. So like a lot of meditation. And I said, so, what's your understanding of God? And she said, I don't think there's anything other than the impermanent. So she still hasn't gone beyond the illusion that there's only what's impermanent. And I said, but I don't agree with that. How can you? Because what's aware? What's aware of the impermanence? That maybe that's what's permanent. And yet in 25 years of practice, that penny still hasn't dropped for her. That actually it's the awareness that underlies the seeming change that's permanent. So the use of, seeing everything as an illusion and impermanent in this world, it's only useful if you recognize that there's a truth that underlies that. So that's not reality. The impermanent's not real, but what's aware of it is reality. So that awareness never changes. But she hadn't quite got there in 25 years, which then calls into question the practice. It's like, well, maybe with a little bit of Course in Miracles training, you could get that in a few weeks, and you'd be so much the wiser then. So this is why he's training us. He's giving us the mind training, not just in practice, and say, okay, well, just be. The Vipassana is like just observe sensations, observe the breath, observe the sensations. That's all. He's actually saying, now let's have some understanding here. Let's understand what's actually going on, because that's going to really accelerate your journey if you really understand that only the truth is true and nothing else is true. That's going to help you to just do this reinterpretation of everything in a way that just focusing on the body and the breath cannot do. Which is why I'm teaching a course and not just Vipassana, because this is like rocket fuel. This is going to take you there much faster. The Vipassana technique can be very useful, but it's just part of the bigger program of learning the truth and understanding in this way. Okay.
Yep.
Happy to move on to 6 then.
Yeah.
The translated version.
Is it not strange that you believe to think you made the world you see is arrogance? God made it not. Retranslating God to pure formless awareness, perfect love.
Yeah, pure formless awareness, perfect love. Did not make it. Okay.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love did not make it. Of this you can be sure. What can it know of the ephemeral and the sinful and the guilty? Are we changing sinful? No, we leave that, do we? The sinful and the guilty, the afraid, the suffering and lonely, and the mind, awareness, and the awareness that lives within a body that must die.
And what we say seems to love. might accuse him of insanity. So you accuse it of insanity. To think it made a world where such things seem to have reality. It is not mad. Yet only madness makes a world like this. Right. It couldn't be clearer. It's like it's telling us straight. This is all insane. The world's insane. And if you think it's real, then you're insane.
Mm.
To think that God made this world, it's completely delusional, and yet that's not what most religions believe. God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, so God's responsible for the mess. Except he now judges his own creation. Says, "No, this is terrible, and now he's going to punish us for our sins." I mean, it's all bonkers. It's like, but he made it all, so like he's punishing himself. Then, if he created it all, how does that make any sense? And formal religions, they don't really have an answer to these questions, do they? They just like spin around in more confusion. Oh, well, there's things beyond our understanding. We can't understand the ways of the Lord. Really? Or maybe you can actually. You can just see through the whole illusion and say it's just a delusion. And this is just ego and it's madness. And God has nothing to do with any of this. It's just madness, so I can let it all go. So, it's the only way out of the seeming craziness. Can't justify it. But most religious teachings and spiritual paths are really just justifying the illusion, and they're trying to make it real in some way, shape, or form. And say, well, God created it, has a purpose. We don't know what the purpose is. That'll be revealed one day, but it has a purpose because God created it. But if God didn't create it, and God is the only thing that's real, then it has no purpose. It's just a dream that has no use and no purpose. And then you're perceiving it correctly, then you can let it go. If you think it's got a purpose and a meaning, then you carry on, but trying to make a world that doesn't work. That's what we've been trying to do for forever, haven't we? We're trying to make this world work, and we've invented all kinds of things to try and make our so-called reality here better. Now we've got technology that can do all this stuff, and we've invented all this stuff to make our lives better and easier, and yet we haven't really solved anything. Because there's still suffering, there's still sickness, there's still pain, there's still death. So what have we really done? We've made our dream world a little bit more comfortable temporarily, but haven't really solved the fundamental issues, and never will. Technology is not going to solve the issues of suffering and pain and sickness and death. So there's only one answer, and that's at-one-ment. Okay, so any thoughts on number 6?
No, God didn't make the world. Love doesn't know suffering. It's madness or at-one-ment. I choose at-one-ment.
Yeah.
It takes me back to childhood when I used to go to church when I was very young, and just the craziness of people that believed in the religion of it all, and they'd just be nasty and unkind. And even when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I used to think, this isn't what I want. This isn't the way forward for sure. It was definitely insane beliefs.
All dressed up as this is somehow true. And it just doesn't make any sense. And if you question it, then they go, ooh, you can't question it because it's absolute truth. It's the word of God. It's the Bible. You can't apply laws of basic logic to this thought system. So you have to leave it. To awaken, you can't stay within that. You've got to go outside of it. So them being unkind was probably very helpful, actually, for you.
Yeah, it was.
You went, okay, this isn't for me, so I'm gonna find another way.
Yeah. All those little moments, they build up your life, don't they? Because of that, I'm where I am.
Yeah, if you hadn't had that, then it had all been, lovely, And you might have gone, oh, well, I'll just, stay in the church and I'll do my thing and it's all lovely and kind. But it's a dysfunction that then causes you to go, no, I can clearly see and feel that this is not what I want. It's not happy and loving and peaceful. So they might say, oh, well, we're all about love and forgiveness, but they're not living it, and you can feel that. So it's a lack of integrity, and you feel it, and then you're called to make another choice and go on a different path. Say, okay, well, let go of that. That's clear. The answer is clearly not there. Let's go exploring. Let's find the answer, which is the hero's journey, and that's led you here to this very moment where the truth is being revealed in all its glory to you. It's amazing, really. You think about it, you go, wow. The Spirit has led me here to this moment of truth being revealed. Led us both to this moment. It's kind of quite profound, really. Like real time, at 1 minute is happening right now. In both of our experience, but it's not really both of our experience. It's actually one mind, seemingly in two bodies, awakening to itself right now. Like, wow.
And it makes me think, I was searching even at 4 and 5 years old, because my parents didn't go to church, but I asked the neighbours if I could go with them to church because I wanted to see what it was about.
Yes.
And even then, I think I've been searching since I was like 4 years old, and I'm 60 now. It's stunning.
Yeah. And the search has brought you here to where the search ends. You don't need to search anymore. The truth is here. You just need to apply yourself to learning it. Saying, okay, I will learn this. This is the the ultimate truth, and all I need to do is learn it. I don't need to seek anymore. I just need to go deep into this and really learn this, which is what you're doing. So, the journey's coming to an end. Finally,
hallelujah.
The seeking is over and the finding is here. Okay, so to think that God made chaos. Let's just translate this.
To think that God, pure formless awareness, made chaos contradicts his will, its will, invented opposites to truth, and suffers death to triumph over life. All this is arrogance.
Suffers death to triumph over life. Suffers death, or allows death.
Definitely, it's the suffering, isn't it? The painful death.
Keep the suffers, isn't it? Suffers death to triumph over life. All this is arrogance. He's saying, when you believe this, then you're being arrogant because you're denying the truth of pure formless awareness of perfect love, and you've invented another thought system to replace it. That's the height of arrogance. So true humility would see at once that these things are not of
it, or source, not of source. No, perfect awareness.
Not of perfect love. Let's just put that in. These things, let's make it even clearer, do not come from perfect love. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. God is love, they tell you in the Bible. And then you've got all this pain and sickness and suffering and misery and death in the world. Well, how can a God of love have done that? Total contradiction in terms. I mean, it's like humility, as he says, would see at once that these things can't come from perfect love. So therefore, logical conclusion, perfect love had nothing to do with it. Perfect love did not create the world. This was the insight that Yeshua had. He went into the desert for 40 days to meditate and fast and pray and try and solve this problem in his mind. I think he said, I'm not coming out until I've cracked it. And he came out and he realized the truth. Okay, well, I've resolved the paradox because I've realized that God couldn't create the world. God is a God of love, and God created the world, and there's all this pain and misery and suffering in the world. There's a clear paradox and a clear contradiction there, between those two ideas, isn't there? So one is true and one is false. And so he came to the awareness that, okay, God then couldn't have created the world. God is completely transcendent. And what made this world is the ego. There's another force that seems to be powerful and active, but that is not true. And that non-dual realization then allowed him to teach the truth as he did, and continues to do right now.
And you can see what pure formless awareness created, not.
Can you see what pure formless awareness of perfect love
Created.
did not create? Did not extend, because that's how we normally show it. What do you think? Or should we leave it as create?
I thought create worked for me.
Yeah, I think it does work in that instance. We'll leave it as create. To think you can.
To think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what God, pure formless awareness of perfect love, willed not to be. Can I leave it like that?
Did not will to be. Maybe
to think you can is merely to believe you can perceive what pure formless awareness of love did not will to exist. Yeah.
Is that clearer?
Yeah.
And to be.
And what could be more arrogant than this?
So you think that you can see something that God, pure formless awareness of perfect love, didn't make. And so you've denied the truth, and you've created your own illusory self-concept instead of God. Now you're the big cheese. You decide what reality is, and you making it all up. And this is the height of arrogance, is what you say. Because you've usurped the power of creation for yourself, and you've miscreated to create a false world and an illusion. And now you're suffering the consequences of that. So who suffers? You do, and everyone else. God doesn't suffer. Pure formless awareness of perfect love cannot suffer by definition. It's just there forever. But you and your delusion, the separated self, suffer and suffer and suffer, and yet we're so stubborn. We don't want to change our minds. It's like hitting your head against a brick wall repeated, and you're bleeding, and it's really painful, and you just keep doing it because it's like, no, well, I've just got to do this. This is how life is. And yes, you're just saying, stop already, stop it, enough. You don't have to do this anymore. Just stop, pause. Look at what you're doing, see the insanity of it, and then you'll stop by definition. Why would you continue with what you perceive as insane and going nowhere and totally unhelpful? You just can't continue insane behavior if you see it as insane. So that's why, again, coming back to the point, the main theme of today's lesson is awareness. Awareness leads to choice. We must be aware of what's true and what's not in order to make the choice or decide.
But even when you know what the truth is and what the illusion is, you can still deny it, can't you? Like you say, there's other Course in Miracles teachers that will deny what's written.
Yeah, extraordinarily. I mean,
our belief systems are so true, aren't they? They're so not so true. Our belief systems are so strong.
They're strong. But they will misinterpret what is so clear. He's telling you only the truth is true, nothing else is true. Okay, am I reading the same thing as you?
No.
I had conversations with like course teachers who've taught this for years. I'm going, how do you like? I mean, we can read directly from the text or the workbook in many instances where he's saying this, and yet you fudging it and you're saying no, actually, this, he's saying something else in the course that would imply something else, because you can always misinterpret if you want to.
Yeah.
But then you just ignore, what's there in black and white. I mean, a classic case was, I don't know if you remember a little while back. I don't know if you're part of the group then, but I talked about what the Circle of Atonement did with the vaccination story. It was just completely extraordinary. They have this whole webinar where they're having a chat and they're talking about vaccinations, and they justify taking a vaccine by Course in Miracles teachings. And they take some obscure reference that didn't even make it into the course. And it didn't even make it into the urtext. It was in Helen's notes to the urtext, where she had a note of a situation early in the course. It was the first few weeks of her scribing it, where it was October of the 1965, and winter's coming around, and so Bill Thetford had a fear of the flu. He was like, okay, well, flu's coming around, so what should I do? So he asks. So Yeshua says, well, I'll send you the answer. And he sends the head of the flu board. He says, I'll send you an expert who gives you the answer. And the expert says, well, take your shot, take your flu vaccine. And so then they go, okay, well, that's justification now that Yeshua is saying we should all take our vaccines. I'm going, whoa, back it up there, because you've just taken that totally out of context. That was context specific. That what Yeshua was trying to do there, very clearly in my interpretation of it, is he was trying to give them, so he was giving them encouragement, saying, look, I can handle these kinds of issues. It's early days. It's only a couple of weeks into this. He wants to get their trust. So he's saying, look, I'll use this as a teaching to get your trust, so that you're going to, do what you need to do, because I know what lies before you. You've only started this immense work that you're going to do it. Bill was pretty important in it. He kept Helen on track, and he was the scribe, and he was there to comfort her and keep her going. She said she couldn't have done it without him. So he needed Bill to be on side, and that was how he got him on side. So he just used that as a teaching. It wasn't about, oh yes, vaccines are absolutely correct for everyone. It was in that context. It was helpful for Bill's learning and Helen's learning. So that's the way I interpret it. But they're going, oh no, well, he's always massively significant because he's telling us that we should all be taking vaccines. Wow, okay. But then they totally ignore lesson 76. He even mentions, he says, lesson 76, right there in the main course. You don't have to go like looking in the notes of the urtext, which didn't even make it into the published version of the urtext. I'm like, I was looking for it. I couldn't even find it. You don't have to go there. It's right there in black and white. He says right here, you really think a small round pellet or some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death? You really think you are alone unless another body is with you? It is insanity that thinks these things. So he's telling you straight, and in that entire webinar, they didn't mention this. And you're going, how can you overlook what's directly in front of you? They would know about lesson 76. It's one of the most profound lessons in the entire workbook, and yet you ignore it. Well, that's just a deliberate overlooking to reinforce a belief system that you want to believe very clearly. You're not being objective and honest. You're ignoring what he said very directly. He's absolutely specific here about vaccinations. Some fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle. Well, what is he talking about? He's talking about vaccines. So, I mean, that's just an instance, but it just shows you. I mean, these advanced teachers been teaching it for 30 plus years, and yet still the ego's got a hold, and they don't want to see the truth. So I just stick to the course. It's like it's there. It's in black and white. This is what he's saying. So just accept what he's saying. You don't have to go and reinterpret it or ignore it or duck and dive. Just accept, absolutely what he's saying, and that's the only way to really work with this teaching. And he's being very, very clear. There's no ambiguity here. So just, he means what he says he means. Just accept it and apply it. All right. Happy to move on to number 8.
Yeah. Let us today be truly humble and accept what we have made as what it is. Let us today be truly humble and accept what we have made as what it is. Okay.
You get that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
True humility is saying, I accept that really what I've made is not good. This is a disaster, and I don't want this. That's what he's saying. Which does require humility and a lot of surrender. So most people don't want to see that. They want to think that what they've made is actually okay and it's acceptable, and they'll try and make it work.
The power of decision is your own. Yeah.
It's our own. Interesting. So he says our own. Maybe we should make that your own. I think we'll make that your own.
Is your
much more powerful.
It's more powerful. Decide but to accept your rightful place as co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear. Yeah, wow. Decide only to accept your rightful place as co-creator of the universe, and all you think you made will disappear.
I think that'd be more powerful if we shifted the only there. Decide to accept only your rightful place as co-creator of the universe. So this universe that he's talking about is not the universe of time and space. We had this conversation in the text last week, because he was talking about universe. Of the true universe, or we could call that co-creator of reality. Might be another way of saying that. Or we could say the true universe. True universe of and all you think you made will disappear. Happy with that translation? True universe of perfect love. I think this is one of the areas of ambiguity in the course. People get confused when he says universe and it's a small u. It's even more confusing. Like, why would you make that a small u when it's actually a capital U? You're co-creator of the universe. He's not referring to the physical universe. He's referring to the universe of truth. Maybe actually let's make this. That's quite nice because we're talking about truth. Co-creator of the true universe. No, that's not going to work. Of the universe of truth. And all you think you made will disappear. Or did you prefer universe of perfect love?
No, I'm feeling a bit confused about the co-creator bit.
Yeah.
So surely truth is truth. I'm not creating the truth, am I?
So because you are the same awareness, that the pure formless awareness of perfect love is your awareness. In his language, you are co-creator then of that. But creator is not really the right word. That's why we translate it. We translate it as either beingness, creation is beingness, and creator is source. And when you create, it's to extend.
Okay, that makes
sense. Like as a co-extender of the universe of truth. But maybe we could change that to something a bit more clear, a bit clearer. So I had to accept only your rightful place as one with the universe of truth. How about that?
Yeah, that works better.
That better? One with the universe of, I think I like perfect love better. One with the universe of perfect love. And all you think you made will disappear. So that pure formless awareness of perfect love, that state, that universe, whatever you want to call it, is your complete state. You are one with that. You're not co-creator of it. You are it. You are it, and it is you. See. So the co-creator, the creation word, that's why we change it, because it's a bit of a red herring. You never created it. It was never not there, and then you somehow created it and brought. You see, that's what creation implies, doesn't it? It was not there, and then we created it. But that would imply something that happened in time. It wasn't always there. It's clearly, it's, you know, if it's eternal, then it must have always been there. There was no time when it wasn't there. So there was no creation in the sense of, oh, it wasn't there and then it came into creation, like the universe wasn't there and it popped into existence with a big bang. That's the ego's creation, miscreation. True creation is, it's always been there. You are that presence. You are that beingness, and you always have been. So yeah, let's just change co-creator, because I'm not sure it's very helpful. It's a kind of a red herring in there. It's one with the universe of perfect love, and all you think you made will disappear. So this is I don't know if you've read Disappearance of the Universe, but this is where it comes from. Yeah, all you think you made will disappear. So the entire universe of time and space, which is the covering over the universe of perfect love, the false universe, will disappear. When you make the one choice that you are one with the universe of love, this is your only reality, this is all you want, everything else will just be cut away. You decide against it, and it will ultimately disappear. Maybe we should put in ultimately. So in our experience, we make this choice, and some people, they take the course totally literally, and they go, well, okay, I decided for perfect love. I had an amazing experience. And I come back and the universe is still here. The world of form is still here. So it's an ultimately it'll disappear, but that happens, once you lay the body aside, and you're out of this time, out of the body, out of time space. So it's going to take time to play out. In time, I mean, what is 20, 30 years? It's not nothing really. It's not a long time. It's like a tiny tick of time in the whole of time space. It's nothing. It's over in an instant, really. So from the perspective of the eternal, it's nothing, but it just seems to be playing out in time, and to be taking years, the remaining part of your lifetime. But what else are you here to do? There's nothing else to do in this place but to make the ultimate decision for truth over illusion. Okay, so happy with the first three?
Yeah.
Sentences. Number 4.
What arises to awareness then will be all that there ever was, eternally as it is now. Yeah, that's the unchangeable. And it will take the place of self-deceptions made up to usurp the altar to the Father and the Son. We're keeping usurp. Is that like a word in the English language?
It is actually, yeah. It's not very much used, but it means to usurp means to take control over. Let's see exactly how it defines it. Take the place of someone in a position of power illegally, to supplant. So, Richard usurped the throne. Someone usurped it, took it illegally, took it, without due process. The Hanoverian dynasty had usurped the Stuarts. So, this is what's been going on forever. Power and control in this world. Everyone wants to be in power, and one crowd wants to usurp the other. Well, what we've done is we've usurped the spirits of perfect love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, and we've replaced it with an illusion, a false, insane self that believes in separation. So I think we'll keep it made only to usurp. Substitute Made only to substitute for the altar. Do you remember this? This will be a good one if you get this. I'm impressed. Altar.
I think what that would be.
Okay, so using an analogy, the altar. What's the altar in a church?
It's the place where the blessing.
Yeah.
Blessing place or something.
Yeah, but it's really the like what does it represent in the church? It's like the
God.
Because of an F. It's the foundation.
All right.
So the whole structure is built around the altar, but the foundation is the altar where it happens. So
all right, foundation to the source and the extension.
Yeah. Usurp. Another way of saying that would be to cover over. To cover the foundation. That's another way of saying it. Usurp, substitute, cover. Self-deceptions made only to cover the foundation. I quite like cover, actually. Cover over.
Yeah, cover over was better, yeah.
This is like the veil of illusion, covering over this foundation, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love. Foundation, and foundation to the source, foundation of the source, and then we should make it. So that's all we've done. The self-deceptions are the covering over, the veil of illusion that covers the ground of being, pure formless awareness of perfect love, to convince us that separation is true. When I had my little mystic experience in the Vipassana retreat, it was so viscerally clear to me, just after that experience, when I came back and I was like interpreting it, was this is just the cover. And I really got why it's the veil of illusion. The entire world is the projection of the mind that's covering over the truth of pure formless awareness. And everything that seems to happen in the dream world that then triggers a negative thought and emotion is the justification for covering over that truth. So the world is just there to justify all of the thoughts and emotions that cover pure formless awareness over. I absolutely got that. It just dropped. It was like, that's just so obvious. I understand why it's an illusion. I understand why they call it the veil of illusion, and why we have to let go of our attachment to all of it, because the world seemingly justifies the thoughts and emotions that cover over the truth and that prevent us from staying in the state of pure formless awareness. This is what he's saying here. The self-deceptions cover the foundation of the source and its extension. Okay, so happy with that. I'm going to give a little summary.
Oneness is always is, always was, can't change, and all thought will ultimately disappear when we ultimately let go in what we call death. And yes, the truth is covered over by that veil. That's not a summary. That's a new viewpoint, isn't it? But yeah, it's helpful to know that it will ultimately disappear on death, because I didn't quite understand what it meant when it was like saying it will disappear. I'm like, how does that work then? Yeah, the illusion of death will allow the thought world to disappear.
Once death's not going to help you very much if you still don't know who you are. If you're still confused, you still believe in separation.
Oh yeah.
You lay the body aside, but you've still got the belief. Well, that belief will pull you back into form, will bring you back to this world.
Yeah.
This is where you come to play out the belief in separation.
Mm.
So enlightenment is not death. Enlightenment is the undoing of the ego.
Death of the
So
ego.
when you finally lay the body aside, you're just letting go of the vehicle that's really had its use. There's no more thought that will bring you back here. Why would you come back to this false dream world? It would make no sense to do that when you understand what it is. So yeah, it's not actually that hard. I mean, people are like enlightenment's it's just recognize the truth, recognize what this is, and then apply it in your life so that you can have a happy dream while you're here and you play out your time in the dream world. You're learning lessons. You're learning to apply it comprehensively without exception. So you can have a pretty happy dream. You can be pretty peaceful, and then one day you lay your body aside. That's no big deal, and you're back in pure formless awareness without a body, which is your natural state, and you don't need to return. I mean, it's so simple. Like, that's not a big deal, surely. Enlightenment isn't actually a big deal, but we make it into something that's difficult and unattainable because, of course, the ego it's a defense against it. The ego doesn't want you to go there. Okay, so happy with number 8.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Today we practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant. Today we practice the true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant.
Okay.
Are you leaving it like that? No, the words in that order.
Yeah, we can change that. My phone's just expired, so I'm just going to make a plan to record this on WhatsApp. So let's just go into AOLG members. Okay, so there we go. So that's recording. All right, so where are we? Just one moment. I'm just going to plug my phone in so get him a charge here. Actually, there we go. All right.
I'm only here for 10 more minutes. Do you want to end it now?
Yeah, we can go into meditation. I think the next one. Select the elements of dream. How long is this one? 11, 12. Power of decision is my own. So we had number 10. Where are we? Number 9. Okay, so let's read number 9, then I'll take you into meditation quickly, if you like, just to practice it.
Okay. So today we practice true humility, abandoning the false pretense by which the ego seeks to prove it arrogant.
Okay. Belief in separation. Prove it arrogant. What he means is humility. To prove humility arrogant. Humility is arrogant. I think that clarifies it.
Only the ego can be arrogant. Only the belief in separation can be arrogant. But the truth is humble in acknowledging its mightiness, its changelessness, its eternal wholeness and all-encompassing. God's perfect gift to his beloved Son. Its extension, pure formless awareness's perfect gift to its extension.
Perfect love's perfect gift. That's quite nice. Got to sort of ring to it. Perfect love's perfect gift to its beloved.
We lay aside the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid, ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to him, it.
No, change lay aside to let go.
Let go of the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid and ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to him, which is it. He has created us.
Let's do the whole pure form. So let's put that in, I think. Where are we? Pure form. Okay, want to read that last sentence?
We let go of the arrogance which says that we are sinners, guilty and afraid and ashamed of what we are, and lift our hearts in true humility instead to pure formless awareness of perfect love, which has created us immaculate, like to itself in power and in love.
Yeah, it's nice. So yeah, on that note, shall I let's do a meditation on that for got 10 minutes. Got 10 minutes. So just making yourself comfortable. Let me just see if I can get my phone resurrected. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting with your feet shoulder width apart. Back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. And close your eyes. So just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And breathe in, just inhaling awareness, truth, light. And the energy rising up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand into your heart, connect with your heart space. And draw it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. So just check in and scan your mind, noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations going on, particularly anything that feels negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. Remind yourself that the power of decision is my own. So I can choose to let go of any of these blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Instead, accept who I really am. Humbly recognize Son of God, or the extension of perfect love that I am right now. To recognize this true self, God's Son, extension of love, implies as well that all self-concepts have been laid aside and recognized as false. So as you exhale, just blow away whatever these thoughts and emotions are that are troubling you, and recognize as you do so, you're letting go of a part of your self-concept. False self-concept that believes you really are separate and alone, fearful, a victim of seeming external circumstances. And letting all of that go. The breeze of your breath, blowing it all away into the nothingness that it really is. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here. In this true power of decision. Say to yourself, the power of decision is my own. This day, right now, I accept myself as what my Father's will, my source's awareness created me to be, what I am in truth and always have been. And now wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions. We humbly ask our capital self to reveal itself to us. And this presence, this self that never left, will come again into our awareness. Grateful to restore its home to God, to pure, formless awareness of perfect love, as it was meant to be. So just surrender for a minute into this deep silence. You need do nothing. There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Surrender into the stillness and awaken to who you really are. Next minute, deep silence. So just coming back gently Awareness of the body and the breath, senses and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in. Noticing stomach rise and the chest rise. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Observe your thoughts, emotions, and related sensations in the body. If there's anything that's out of accord with pure formless awareness, perfect love, remind yourself the power of decision is my own. So I can choose right now in this moment to let it go. Do that with the help of your breath. Exhale. Sense of blowing it away like a cloud pattern, just leaving you. It's going, gone into the nothingness. There it really is. Bring it all away and count to 2. Just notice the weight of your body now pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling with your hands touching. There's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice all these things from this state of pure formless awareness. Come back into sense perceptions, but the awareness underlying them, these sense perceptions no longer have the power to cover over this awareness. Awareness remains the center in your mind. So you walk around with this awareness everywhere. God goes with you wherever you go. Another way of saying that, you carry this presence with you, and that helps you to stay vigilant for the ego. Remind yourself frequently this afternoon, evening, especially when you feel tempted to go back into the ego's thought system, that the power of decision is my own. And this day, right now, I do accept what my source's will created me to be. Sigh out, exhale on the truth of that. And it'll go. And count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So open your eyes. Just take a moment to look around. Noticing the various objects in the room. Let your eyes rest randomly on an object for a few seconds and then move on to another object and then another one again. And notice that it's all really the same. There's no difference, no separation. Perception, it's one awareness. It's one pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is with you always. So practice this idea frequently today. Yeshua recommends every hour. Apply to any situation that disturbs you immediately. And that should keep you connected to this pure formless awareness of perfect love, your source, and flowing, all of your words and actions flowing from that true source. I wish you a very peaceful flowing afternoon and evening ahead. We have another session this evening from 7:30 p.m. UK time. That's 8:30 South African time. Join us then to meditate again on today's lesson and on the text for tonight, which is section 8 of chapter 18. That's entitled The Little Garden. So nice one. That would be quite poetic. So it brings us to the end of the meditation. I'm just going to stop the recording of that, and then I'll continue translating. So let's just finish the translation quickly because we're not far off from that. So Number 9, number 10. Our decision is our own. We accept of Him that which we are. Accept of let's translate that as our source, I think. Accept that of our source. That which we are. Accept of our source. What we truly are. And humbly recognize the Son of God. Extension of perfect love. To recognize perfect love's extension. As well that all self-concepts have been laid aside. Recognized as false. Recognized as false and let go of. The arrogance has been perceived. Humanity. There's a comma there. There's extension. His gentleness, his perfect sinlessness, his Father's love, his source's love, his right to heaven, right to the state of pure formless awareness. His right to pure formless awareness. And release from hell, hell as victimhood. And these things are joyously accepted as our own. I think I'm going to make this your own. Our decision is your own. And you accept. And let's change the sense of it as well. Change that to you. You accept of your source, what make that active. Applies as well that you have let go of all self-concepts. Recognize them as false. Arrogance has been perceived. And humility, the radiance of perfect love's extension. Its gentleness, perfect sinlessness, its source is love. It's right to the state of pure formless awareness and release from victimhood. Joyously accepted as you have perceived their arrogance. Just change this whole thing around, make it active rather than passive. You have perceived their arrogance. And humility, the radiance and we'll make this active. So in humility, you joyously accept as your own radiance of perfect love's extension. Its gentleness, its perfect sinlessness, source is love. It's right to the state of pure formless awareness. Release from victimhood. Source is love. You're right to the state of pure formless awareness. And release from victimhood. So we are recognize that power of decision is our own. Recognize that we've let go of all false self-concepts. We recognized only the truth of who we are. Perceive the arrogance of the ego, the false self-image, and all of its projections. And in humility, joyously accept as your own the radiance, perfect love's extension, all of its gentleness, its sinlessness, its innocence, source is love, and you're right to the state of pure formless awareness and release from victimhood. So you cannot be a victim in the state of pure formless awareness of perfect love. You will be released. You have a right to this if you decide that it's your right. So power of decision activates all of this. Okay, so the next one, 2 more to do. So now do we join in glad acknowledgement? Lies are false and only truth is true. Think of truth alone as we arise. Copy the original. So now do we join in glad acknowledgement? Now we join in glad acknowledgement that lies are false and only truth is true. Think of truth. Think of truth alone as you. Think of truth alone. When you wake up this morning, spend 5 minutes practicing its ways, encouraging your frightened mind with this. Power of decision is my own. This day I will accept myself. Change that I will to I accept. I accept myself as what my Father's will created me to be. Power of decision is my own. This day comma, this day I accept myself as what Father as my sources will created me to be. Created me to be. Today I accept myself as what my sources will extended me to be. I accept what I am, I accept on the extension of my source, pure formless awareness of perfect love. and wait in silence, giving up all self-deceptions as you humbly ask, self, that it reveal humbly ask yourself, a better way of saying it, to reveal itself to you. Let's make it second person singular. And this presence which never left, will come again to your awareness, grateful to restore its home to your formless awareness of perfect love. As it was meant to be. Its presence, which never left, will come again into your awareness. Grateful to restore its home. To restore pure formless, perfect love. To restore you to your home in your formless. Restore you to your true home. Your formless as it was meant to be. To your true home and pure formless awareness. Perfect love as it was meant to be. So what is he saying here? Practice well, choose again. Power of decision of my own is a reminder to let go of all self-deceptions, let go of all illusions, and ask the truth to be revealed to you, so that the pure formless awareness of perfect love arises again in your awareness and you come home. So that state of mind is your true state, your true nature. And patience, wait for him throughout the day. Patience, wait for it throughout the day. Patience. In patience, wait for this presence. Invite it hourly. Invite it every hour. Your awareness. With which the day began, concluding it. The same invitation to yourself. God's voice. Perfect love's voice will answer. It speaks for you and for your source. It will substitute the peace of God. Substitute the peace of perfect love, all your frantic thoughts, the truth of self-deceptions, perfect loves, extension. For your illusions of yourself. So saying just practice, use the idea to take you into the state and allow the state to replace all of your frantic thoughts, self-deceptions and illusions. Come home to who you really are. As love, perfect love, the extension of perfect love. So that brings us to the end of the lesson and of this session. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on a recording, and do join us this evening at 7:30 p.m. UK time. It's 8:30 p.m. South African time for the next session, where we'll do the text reading for today, which is called The Little Garden. So hope to see you then, and namaste.